Chapter 525. No, Zhu Daoshan didn't even care about his granddaughter who had just woken up. He just fell to the ground and hollered, "You can't die, you can't die." He had hope from the start. Until now, when he saw his granddaughter wake up, he knew that there was hope. He also trusted Ian. After all, apart from him, who else could save his granddaughter? What are all of you standing there for? Help me save him. Zhu Daoshan hollered in rage. He was like a wild beast that wanted to swallow up the commander. How would the commander expect this to happen? He is already dead. Since he personally attacked, he obviously knew the outcome. Moreover, Lin Fan was just at Void Realm. So how could he survive from his furious strike? How long? Suddenly, Zhu Daoshan charged forwards and the commander's stomach suffered a heavy blow. With a pung, a hole was smashed into the wall. Damn! Wu Zhiga was stunned. He then came back to his senses. Crazy. All of them are crazy. For some reason, he felt like things were becoming more and more complicated. Zhu Daoshan stepped on the commander's body and punched his face time after time. You jerk! Every punch landed on his body, causing the commander's face to be covered in blood. The commander didn't fight back like he wanted Zhu Daoshan to vent the rage in his heart. Wu Zhiga saw the commander raise his hand. Even if his face was covered in blood, he didn't want Wu Zhiga to attack. His intentions were obvious. He wanted Zhu Daoshan to vent his anger. Wu Zhiga was helpless and sighed. At the same time, he didn't understand how such a weak person did it. It was impossible for the resurrection technique to exist. But the truth was right in front of him. He personally witnessed it. So what if he didn't believe it? It was understandable that Zhu Daoshan was so furious. There was clearly hope, but now the commander-in-chief had completely destroyed it. Suddenly, Wu Zhiga realized that the brat was a little weird. Her expression was a little stunned, like she was in a trance. Oi, stop fighting. Come take a look. The situation is not right. When Zhu Daoshan heard Wu Zhiga's words, he got up and walked beside the bed. Baby, what happened? Don't scare me. To him, the most important thing right now was his granddaughter. Everything else was insignificant. Listen up. If anything happens to my granddaughter, I can bear with it once, but not a second time. Zhu Daoshan looked at the commander in rage. When he saw Zhu Daoshan's gaze, the commander realized that he had done such a stupid thing. If something really happened, he definitely didn't doubt that Zhu Daoshan didn't have the courage. The commander wanted to say something, but stopped. He knew that he was in the wrong. Although he was expressionless, he was filled with regret. He looked at his right hand and really wanted to chop it off. What cheap hand! If he had been a few seconds later, the result might not have been like this. Calm down, calm down. The current situation is not what we want to see. Wu Zhiga tried to persuade him. Actually, he didn't want to. He just wanted to point at the commander and scold him for being sick in the head. Fortunately, he didn't attack. Otherwise, Zhu Daoshan would have sliced him into pieces. At this moment, the commander-in-chief was like a child who had done something wrong. He stood there innocently, not knowing whether to leave or not. He didn't know what to do. Grandfather. The stunned brat quickly regained her usual innocent self. At the same time, the terrifying wounds on her body were healing at a visible rate. This surprised and delighted Zhu Daoshan. At the same time, he was more and more furious at the commander. He heard what Ian said before he died. This was just the start, so what would happen next? Zhu Daoshan had a kind expression and hugged his granddaughter. Good girl, don't be afraid. It is okay, it is okay. Wu Zhiga pulled the commander out. What was the point of them staying here? Don't you think that I went too overboard in this matter? The commander-in-chief thought for a moment before asking. Kiki. Wu Zhiga smiled and patted his shoulder. You are the commander, so what is there to be overboard about? As long as you are happy. The commander-in-chief thought that Wu Zhiga would comfort him, but what he said next almost made him vomit blood. Was this something a human could say? He wanted to say something, but there was nothing he could say. Maybe this was the first time in a long time that he had felt so wronged. It felt really bad. Wu Zhiga walked to the door, turned around, and said, If I were you, I would investigate who you just killed and see if there is anyone who knows that kind of secret technique. I would do whatever it takes to find that secret technique. What happened today made Wu Zhiga feel that things had become really complicated. Maybe in the future, Zhu Daoshan would go all out against the commander. He probably wouldn't be able to stop such a thing. Wu Zhige's words were a little harsh, but to the commander-in-chief, it made a lot of sense. The commander's eyes shone with a look of hope. He seemed really calm, but actually, he was panicking more than anyone else. He had to settle this perfectly, otherwise, something huge was going to happen. A few days later, Marshal Path Mountain. Father, why are you here again? When Lin Fan saw that his father was here, he found it weird. Without his father by his side, he was able to enjoy himself as much as he wanted. Using his own words, before he found his father, he treated him like a treasure and was afraid that something would happen. Now that he found his father, this treasure was a little useless. Of course, he wasn't worried about his father's safety. His brother Xiao was a coward and didn't think about reviving the imperial dynasty. Even if his father wanted to help, he had to have a reason. For example, Prince Xiao Qi wanted to build a small faction to revive the imperial dynasty. But what a waste. Till now, there wasn't such a faction. The key was that he had already poached one of the experts beside his father. He didn't panic at all. When he had the time, he would poach old ancestor Su and old ancestor Zhao. That would be perfect. Lin Wani frowned. Why? Can't I come see you? Lin Fan smiled. Father, I didn't mean that. I was just asking. I heard that you face problems at the border. Does the Alliance headquarters really have such a strong weapon? Lin Wani asked. He had fought with the Alliance many times, but he had never heard that they had such a weapon. Even Dao Realm Stage 7 experts couldn't block it. If the Alliance really had it, why didn't they use it when they were attacking the border? Why did they have to wait until now? Lin Fan told his father about the situation. When Lin Wani heard the specific details, his expression changed. If that was the case, then that was just too terrifying. As for why the Alliance didn't use it, firstly, the commander wouldn't agree. Moreover, the Alliance headquarters wanted to take down the border to occupy territory and develop resources. They didn't want to destroy good land. Lin Fan chatted with his father for a long while. The sky slowly turned dark, and Go Zi went to prepare food. Since old master was here, how could he just send him away so casually? In front of the table. Recently, I noticed that many commoners have moved to Marshal Path Mountain. Zhu Shun was confused. He had nothing to do every day, so he would look around the territory that Marshal Path Mountain controlled. Just yesterday, he noticed that there were many villagers hundreds of miles away. It seemed like the people in the City of Darkness listened to his instructions and moved here. That was a good thing. It seems like the situation is a little huge and many people have lost their homes. It is good that they moved to Marshal Path Mountain. At least we can take care of each other. Zhao Lishan said. Lin Fan smiled in his heart. If Zhao Lishan knew that the villagers had such terrifying cultivation, he probably wouldn't think that way. Father, the 4 alliances are wary of the Alliance. Moreover, the previous matter won't be solved so easily, and there will probably be a conflict. We just have to watch them fight, and we don't have to care about anything else. Lin Fan said. The only fortunate thing was that the 4 alliances weren't united. If they were, then there was no need to watch. The alliance would collapse. Even if they had the star-level energy, it was useless. A bunch of experts charged into the alliance headquarters, and they could only die together. But such things could only be wishful thinking. Not to mention the sect leaders of the top sects, but even the sect leaders of the normal and mid-tier sects all love their lives. They wanted others to charge first while they watched from behind. If that didn't work, then they could consider whether or not to attack. Lin Wani said, there shouldn't be a conflict. With my understanding of those sects, without absolute benefits, they won't do anything. Lin Fan didn't believe it. How is that possible? The sect leaders of the 4 alliances were bullied so badly, and they actually didn't take revenge on the alliance? Kiki, you're still young. Marshal Path Mountain's location is known by the 4 alliances, but you saw them come to find trouble with you. It isn't that they don't want to, but that they know your strength. After the price they paid last time, they don't dare to do anything. Lin Wani said. Lin Fan thought about it, and felt like that made sense. But if that was the case, then the 4 alliances were just too cowardly. Now, they wanted to open up the situation. It seemed like he had to take the initiative to attack, and open up the situation. Lin Fan thought about it. This matter was a little problematic, and he had to think about it. Just as he was thinking about all this, the commander left the Alliance and personally headed to Evil Alliance's Corpse God sect to search for the secret technique that he mentioned. Unfortunately, when he arrived, those disciples didn't know anything. This infuriated the commander, and he even wanted to attack, to kill some to threaten those disciples. But he controlled himself. He used huge rewards to tempt them. But to those disciples, they really didn't know what secret technique the sect had to revive the dead. If they did, then they wouldn't be in such a tragic state. The commander came to the book collection area and browsed through all the books in hopes of finding the secret technique. But unfortunately, he flipped the entire sect but couldn't find anything. For some reason, this made the commander panic. Imperial Dynasty. King Wudong cried out. His body was really unstable, like he was about to shatter at any moment. He didn't know what happened that day. He didn't see any enemy. Then he heard a loud explosion. Resplendent radiance erupted from the extreme distance, tearing apart even the heavens. He originally thought that it was a battle between experts, which was why such a terrifying scene was produced. But shortly after, something that he didn't dare to imagine happened. A shock wave that could be seen with the naked eye struck him, causing the earth to tremble. Everything in sight was destroyed, and by the time he wanted to run, it was already too late. He felt a destructive power crushing his body. Then, there was no then. He fainted. When he woke up, he didn't know where he was. The pain in his body told him that he had suffered heavy injuries. His body was shattered and half of it was gone. In the end, he dragged his badly damaged body back to the Imperial Dynasty. King Wudong was terrified. Facing such an inhuman attack, he felt how small and insignificant he was. In the secret room, evil God, King Wudong hollered, and his voice spread throughout the secret room. Not long later, evil God statue gave off a weird light. How tragic, so small and pitiful. Evil God statue spread its voice. Those words were a form of humiliation to King Wudong. It was like a sharp sword stabbing into his heart. But now, those words weren't important to him anymore. Save me, evil God, save me, King Wudong said. He tried many methods, but his damaged body couldn't recover at all. Even if he tried to absorb experts, it was useless. It was like his wounds were absorbing some shocking damage that was destroying his life force. Why do I have to save you? You are really too useless. You have such an ability, but your cultivation base increases so slowly. This evil God really despises you. The evil God said disdainfully. In evil God's words, this fellow was the weakest one that he had ever taught. He had no brain at all. He had such ability, but his cultivation rose so slowly. Till now, he wasn't even at Tao Realm. Eat **T. Although a quick rise in cultivation would cause problems in the brain, if there weren't problems, how could there be such a shortcut? Actually, King Wudong realized that as his cultivation rose, his mentality and mental state changed. That feeling couldn't be described with words. But in the end, he would become a maniac, a bloodthirsty maniac. Save me. King Wudong didn't want to die. He still had things to do. He hadn't completed the mission that his brother gave him. He couldn't die. He definitely couldn't die. Evil God smiled. This is tough. How am I supposed to save you like this? But you can beg me to save you. Maybe if I am in a good mood, I will pull you back from the brink of death. He didn't need such a trashy chess piece. Instead, he had a more perfect chess piece. Please save me. I don't want to die. King Wudong placed down all his dignity and just wanted to live. Evil God said, "You are begging me like a dog, wagging your tail and begging for mercy." King Wudong was unwilling. He used his remaining palm to support himself and laid on the ground. He thought back to how his brother died in front of him and his final words. "Lord Evil God, I am a loyal dog by your side. Please save me. I don't want to die." King Wudong lowered his head and his voice became hoarse. "Ha ha!" Evil God laughed sinisterly. He thought about it. Maybe this chess piece was still useful. Although he had a more perfect chess piece, if a problem occurred, Wouldn't all his efforts be for nothing? Maybe you should give him a chance. Okay, since you are so well-behaved, then I will save you. You must cherish this chance. Next time, you won't be so lucky. The moment he said this, a light exploded from the evil god statue and covered King Wudong. This power was too mysterious. King Wudong's injuries were recovering at a visible rate. I have recovered. Joy appeared on King Wudong's face. He clenched his fists, and his body was filled with strength. Evil God said, "Remember this time, your progress is simply too slow. You need to devour even more experts to become even stronger. So much time has passed, and you aren't even at Dao Realm. In my eyes, you're just trash. Comprehend those words. I hope that you can satisfy me next time." Instantly, King Wudong felt his vision turn black. When light appeared, he realized that he was actually outside. This shocked King Wudong, and he was astonished. But he was conflicted. Stronger. He had to abandon his humanity. That wasn't what he needed. He had to be rational and complete his brother's expectations. Maybe I can block it, King Wudong muttered to himself. Expectations without strength were just thoughts in one's heart. One had to be confident. If one wasn't confident, one wouldn't know how trash one was. At this moment, Zhu Daoshan was in a good mood because of his granddaughter's revival. But he was also worried. He didn't know what he meant. What would happen in the future? Outside, it was nighttime. Occasionally, lightning would streak across the sky. He entered the manor. Zhu Daoshan hugged the doll. He had placed down everything. What happened outside wasn't important to him. He just wanted to accompany his granddaughter. He walked to the door and was about to push it open. He frowned, and a bloody smell spread out from within. He panicked and thought that something had happened. He pushed the door open and entered. The hall was pitch black, and there were occasional lights that flickered on the ceiling. Where is she? Where is she? Zhu Daoshan panicked. Why was the hall so dark? Where are the nannies? That damn thing. Who did it? In a dark corner, not far away, there was the sound of chewing, and there seemed to be a shadow squatting there. Who is there? Zhu Daoshan hollered in rage. Grandfather. That was his granddaughter's voice. This made Zhu Daoshan heave a sigh of relief. Good girl, don't be afraid. Grandfather is back. Grandfather, I am so hungry. The figure in the distance slowly walked over. It is okay. Grandfather will cook your favorite food later. Zhu Daoshan was thinking about where the nannies were. Those damn things, he would punish them later. They actually left little master alone in the dark hall. There was a loud explosion. A thick bolt of lightning streaked across the sky and lit up the dark hall. Zhu Daoshan's expression changed. He saw that his granddaughter was holding a bloody arm. The broken clothes on the arm were actually the nanny's clothes. How did this happen? Zhu Daoshan's heart was heavily injured. He took a step back in disbelief, and his eyes slowly lost focus. Grandfather, I am so afraid. Shortly after, Zhu Daoshan walked up and squatted down. He hugged his granddaughter and touched her hair. Don't be afraid. With grandfather here, there is nothing to be afraid of. He thought about what he said. Could this be the after effects? If that was the case, then it didn't matter who his granddaughter wanted to eat as long as they were alive. Pata! The lights in the hall lit up. Where Zhu Daoshan's eyes passed, there were 3 broken corpses lying in a pool of blood. The nannies, who were hiding in other places, were all pale as they screamed in panic. Old master, little miss is a monster. She is a man-eating monster. Run, little miss is a monster. The nannies ran towards the entrance. They wanted to leave this place and tell others that little miss was a man-eating monster. Zhu Daoshan didn't move and just quietly hugged his granddaughter. His gentle gaze slowly flashed with killing intent. With a poochie, those nannies who were about to run to the entrance were destroyed by an invisible power and instantly exploded. Zhu Daoshan said, Little miss is not a monster, but she doesn't like to eat food anymore. But no matter what, she will always be my baby, my good granddaughter. Creak, creak. The door slowly closed. The nannies hiding in the various rooms trembled. Zhu Daoshan could only kill them all. He couldn't allow this matter to be leaked. His granddaughter needs to live a normal life. The evil god in the imperial dynasty was in deep thought. He had turned into a thinker. Were kinship so terrifying? All he did was show a little bit of his not-so-beautiful fetish. Who knew that humans could accept it so well? He was such a good grandfather. As expected, he was much better than that piece of trash King Wudong. Next day, Wu Zhiga came to find Zhu Daoxin and told him that Corpse God sect didn't have any secret techniques. Although it was a blow to him, he had no choice as that was the truth. But when he came to Zhu Daoxin's manor, he realized that this place gave him a weird feeling. It was tough to say. He didn't dare to say. Even the nannies were gone. Zhu Daoxin just told him that he needed peace and quiet. The nannies were all fired, and he didn't need them in the future. Wu Zhiga consoled Zhu Daoxin, but he didn't know what was weird. When he left, he turned around and looked at the huge manor. It was terrifyingly quiet, and he felt like something was wrong. With his Dao Realm stage, 7 cultivation, his senses were really strong. This was why even if he felt like something was wrong, he didn't want to investigate. Martial Path Mountain. Son, I don't want to nag you, but are you like this every day? Lin Wani spent a period of time in Martial Path Mountain and saw what Fanner was doing when he wasn't by his side. He really knew how to enjoy life. Where did this mate come from? Not bad, but was this something that a human would do? He actually asked her to massage him. He ate and drank every day and played around. When he was bored, he would carry a teapot and walk around. When he was tired, he would drink tea and relax. Such days were really boring. When he saw it, he was envious. But the situation didn't allow it. Right, father, these days are good days. But compared to you city, they lack humanity. Haze, who knows when we can go back to the past? Lin Fan looked at the sky and reminisced. He might have been strong now and had become the sect leader with a bunch of experts following him. But truthfully, he still liked the days when he was so free and carefree. He liked to mess with his father. Chapter 526. You kid, Lin Wani sighed. He had no choice as this kid's words made him really angry. He kept thinking about going back to the past. Was the past really so good? Lin Wani liked his son who was motivated and worked hard to raise his strength. He wasn't that unfilial kid who spent his days doing nothing in U City. Although the Alliance headquarters was annoying for destroying the border, to him, it was good that it was destroyed. In the future, he wouldn't be able to return, so it was a good choice. This time, Lin Wani wasn't in a rush to leave. His father wasn't in a rush, but he was. He had seen it and asked about it. There was nothing else, so why wasn't he leaving? Sect Leader Lin, in my opinion, you can pull your father over to our side. I have seen it long ago, and the former imperial dynasty is impossible. Water Emperor's thoughts were much simpler. What he meant was that if he pulled Lin Wani over, wouldn't they have one more expert? Lin Fan said, Don't pull my father over. He's doing well now. Martial Path Mountain seemed safe, but it was actually really dangerous. Especially with what he was doing now. He would have to fight those sects head-on. Although his father was in danger over at the former imperial dynasty, it wasn't as dangerous as him. This was why it was better for his father to stay at the same place. He trusted brother Shao Qi very much. He was definitely a person with no ambitions. As for restoring the imperial dynasty back to its former glory, he didn't have any at all. Water Emperor shook his head. That is a waste. If we had their help, our faction would be terrifyingly huge. In terms of peak combat strength, we would be able to suppress all the top sections. Lin Fan looked at the divinator and asked, How is my father's luck? Will there be a life and death tribulation in the future? Yes, but it has already been resolved once and is much weaker. Especially after Water Emperor came, it became even weaker. But luck is really magical, and we can't be careless. The divinator said. Water Emperor frowned and was really unhappy. What nonsense are you saying? You make it sound like I will purposely harm Brother Lin. Or are you saying that I have bad luck, and anyone who is with me will face danger? The divinator retorted, What do you mean? Are you saying that I am purposely targeting you? This is a display of luck, and it isn't something I can control. Damn, no matter what, the Heaven's Fate Master was a well-known figure. Even though he was in seclusion, his fame still spread far and wide. He was even more respected than the Water Emperor. Now that the Water Emperor was being so arrogant, it made him unhappy. Lin Fan waved his hand. All right, What's there to quarrel about? If you have the energy, hurry up and get to work. Then, he felt very helpless. The four alliances are so disappointing. They're being bullied and they don't do anything at all. Is what my father said true? Are they really going to let the four alliances go? He had calculated so much, but he didn't expect the four alliances to be so cowardly. He wanted to take advantage of the battle between the four alliances and the alliance headquarters to earn some benefits. Now, it seemed like he was disappointed. At this moment, Gozi's voice came from outside. Young master, someone delivered a letter. Lin Fan was confused. Marshall Path Mountain's existence wasn't a secret, but not everyone knew about it. Unable to comprehend the situation, he walked out of the house. Who sent it? Lin Fan asked. Gozi shook his head. An old man sent it. I think he was hired. I didn't find anything weird, so I told him to leave the letter and leave. Based on my many years of experience, this might very well be a love letter. Water Emperor said. Lin Fan took a look and treated it like he was farting. He opened the letter and took a close look. What kind of disgusting words are written? Water Emperor saw Lin Fan smile and was instantly interested. Lin Fan tossed the letter to them and said, I didn't expect that someone would want to borrow someone else's knife to kill me. They really underestimate my intelligence. Water Emperor was really curious. What was that? Who wanted to borrow someone else's knife to kill? He looked at the letter and smiled. Oh, so it is this. The Alliance headquarters has internal conflicts and Zhu Daoshan's granddaughter died. Although she survived in the end, Zhu Daoshan and the Alliance headquarters have conflicts and they don't care about Alliance matters anymore. Wu Zhiga isn't that active, and he seems to be retiring. Doesn't that mean that the Alliance has lost two of their strongest 9-star generals? That is a great thing. Water Emperor spoke a lot of nonsense, but he used simple words to explain the entire matter. Who knew when Lin Wani appeared? He knew what was written in the letter and was delighted. This is a good chance. Fanner, I'm going to leave now. Take care of yourself. When I have time, I will come and visit you. The moment he said this, Lin Wani entered the dimension and headed towards the Imperial Dynasty. Lin Fan wanted to say something, but the moment he was about to say it, his father disappeared. Although it is a good thing, he left in such a rush. He blinked. If his father turned around, he would definitely scold him. He was already so old, so how could he be so rash? Zhao Lishan had an idea. Young Master Lin, if the letter is true, then not only will it be good for us, but it will also be good for everyone. You're thinking too simply. Lin Fan shook his head. In my opinion, this matter isn't what we think it is. If Zhu Daoshan fought the Alliance headquarters because of this, I would believe that he would be disappointed in the Alliance. But now that nothing has happened, if the foundations of the Alliance are in danger, Zhu Daoshan will definitely jump out. To them, it was hard to imagine why Zhu Daoshan would still help the Alliance. But he knew that sometimes the ideals in one's heart could not be easily worn away by some things. Hayes, the four alliances aren't united. If they were, suppressing the Alliance would be a simple matter. Zhao Lishan felt regretful. In the past, he was unhappy with the top sects, but now he hoped that the sects could be united. With their strength alone, they were just too weak. It was like ants fighting an elephant. This was a huge existence. Even if they were badly injured, the Alliance still existed. Only by working together would they be able to suppress the Alliance. Swordhead said, if the Imperial Dynasty could gather the sects and form a whole, then even if the Alliance could ascend to the heavens, it would be useless. Lin Fan didn't say anything. It wasn't that he didn't want to speak, but he felt that the bunch of old people in front of him couldn't open their minds. There was no need to gather them or not. Simply put, to raise their strength and raise their cultivation to a certain realm. Then, everything else wouldn't be a problem. He always believed in the saying that one person could fight a country. If he couldn't, he could only say that he wasn't strong enough. Hell Mountain. In this hell-like place, the auras of many experts flashed across in the dimension above. They landed in the Hell Mountain headquarters. Internal meeting. The 8 island heads of Ocean Emperor Island have arrived, so we can start the meeting. The Hell Mountain leader was middle-aged. He was really muscular, and just standing there gave one a sense of pressure. Yin Kuan, why did you call us over? To say it simply, the 8 island heads were all people in charge of Ocean Emperor Island. Now that they were all here, it was enough to show how important the Hell Mountain leader was to them. Yin Kuan smiled. Calm down. I am just in charge of the meeting. The one who is truly introducing the situation is someone else. One of the 8 island heads, Island Head Lansong, frowned and was a little unhappy. Leader Yin, what is the meaning of this? You called us over and told us that you aren't the one who has something to say. Who is it? Yin Kuan looked toward the corner not far away. At that moment, everyone's eyes followed Yin Kuan's gaze and turned to the side. When they saw him, there was a lot of booing in the meeting room. It was obvious that they didn't expect Jin Ming to be the one to speak. This caused them to be rather surprised, and they were even more displeased. Zhen Ming did have some status in Hell Mountain, but everyone in this meeting was someone with high status. Now that Yin Kuan told Jin Ming to go up, it was like a slap to their faces. Island Head Lan Song raged. Leader Yin, what is the meaning of this? Are you insulting us? Zhen Ming's expression didn't change. Island Head Lan Song, please calm down. What I am saying will have a huge impact on Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island. Whether or not our Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island can surpass the alliance will be decided here. You aren't strong, but your tone is really arrogant. Okay, let me see what you have to say. Island Head Lan Song scoffed coldly. He crossed his shoulders and glanced at Zhen Ming. The other 7 island heads didn't say anything. What Island Head Lan Song said was what they were thinking. Zhen Ming said, I think all of you know about what happened at the alliance. Zhu Daoshan and the alliance headquarters commander fell out, and as for Wu Zhiga, Island Head Lan Song was annoyed. Who here doesn't know about what you are saying? They might even know more than you. Do you think that it is interesting for you to say all of this out loud? Or rather, that is all you want to say? If that is the case, then it is just disappointing. It is just a waste of time. Yin Kuan frowned. It wasn't that Zhen Ming's words made him unhappy, but that Island Head Lan Song was using his seniority to cut him off right away. Couldn't he just shut up and listen carefully? Zhen Ming said, Island Head Lan Song, this is just the beginning. What I want to say next is the main point. It seems like all of you are a little impatient, so I will just say it directly. To shake the Alliance headquarters position, it is time for Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island to regain their former glory. The reason why Zhu Daoshan's granddaughter revived has something to do with the native sect. During the initial treatment, the commander killed him, which caused the treatment to be cut off. Based on what I know, one can say that Zhu Daoshan's threat has disappeared. Island Head Lan Song laughed coldly. Childish, do you want to threaten Zhu Daoshan? You really don't hold Zhu Daoshan in any regard. Zhen Ming said calmly. Island Head Lan Song, don't be anxious. There are some things that all of you don't know. If you do, you won't think that way. I just want to ask whether or not all of you have the courage to pull the Alliance headquarters down. If all of you do, then we can continue to talk. Everyone looked at Zhen Ming in confusion. He was really confident? What was it that made him so confident? That was the question. Chapter 5:27. Kiki. Island Head Lan Song looked at Zhen Ming with a teasing gaze and smiled. We lack everything but courage. I want to hear what you know and what you know to make you so confident. There was a reason why Ocean Emperor Island was able to survive for so long. The 8 island heads were united and didn't scheme against one another. If they did, Ocean Emperor Island would naturally collapse, and they wouldn't be able to fight back against the Alliance headquarters. Thus, when Island Head Lan Song agreed, the others didn't say anything. They all acknowledged Island Head Lan Song. His words were what they meant. Zhen Ming said, Okay, since that is the case, then I won't hide it from all of you. Zhu Daoshan's granddaughter is dead. Although she has revived, she is just a zombie and needs to eat people. Think about it. With Zhu Daoshan's status and prestige, if everyone in the Alliance finds out that his granddaughter needs to eat people to survive, what do you think he will do? Even if he doesn't care with how much he loves his granddaughter, he definitely won't let others know that she is a monster. Uproar. Everyone was shocked. It was like they didn't expect such a thing to happen. When they found out about the news, they just thought that she didn't die and was saved. But looking at the situation, that wasn't the case. If what Jinming said was true, then things were going to be interesting. Jinming paused and gave everyone some time to laugh. He then continued. Now that the alliance is in chaos, the tech department's highest commander, Xiang Yuntian, released star-level energy to prove that even 9-star generals can't block it. He gained the support of the alliance people and shook the position of the 9-star general. At the same time, a group of people appeared, and they felt that the alliance should focus on research and not individual strength. To us, this current upheaval is also an opportunity. Then, let's invite an important person over. The moment he said this, a strong aura spread throughout the meeting room. The 8 island lords of the Sea Emperor Island were shocked. They were all powerful people, and ordinary people were not worthy of their attention. Now, there was someone who shocked them. Naturally, he wasn't a normal person. At that moment, everyone stared at the silhouette walking over from afar. So young, so handsome, giving off a feeling of delicateness. However, this delicateness was mixed with an extremely sharp aura. Who was he? Everyone wanted to know who this person was. They then looked towards Jinming and wanted to know who he was. Jinming looked at them and said, "This is Monster Alliance Yin Yang sect leader Su Yi. People call him Night Emperor, and he has been in charge of Yin Yang sect for 300 years. Surprise. No one expected that the person Jinming introduced would actually be a native sect leader. What was even more unbelievable was that this person had actually existed for more than 300 years. It could be said that he was the oldest here. Furthermore, he looked so young. It was clear that his physical body cultivation was extremely high, allowing him to maintain his youthful appearance even at a young age. They were curious about each other, but no one dared to underestimate each other. The Night Emperor was cultured and refined. A smile appeared on his face. "Everyone, this is the first time we meet. I am Su Yi of the Yin Yang Union sect." The 8 island lords of the Sea Monarch Island did not dare to underestimate the other party. "I've heard a lot about you." He had heard of the Monster Alliance top sects, but he was unfamiliar with the Yin Yang sect leader. Now that Jinming invited him over, the meaning behind this was a little unclear. For example, Evil Alliance's Xiedao sect came from Yin Yang Union sect. Compared to Yin Yang Union sect, even if Xiedao sect leader Old Demon Wu Wei came, he wouldn't dare to behave arrogantly in front of him. Jinming said, "Island heads, Hell Mountain is really sincere. I introduce my partner to all of you so that all of you can trust me. My goal is the same, which is to topple the alliance. They have been suppressing us for a long time, and it is time for a change. What do all of you want to say? Just say it. If you have any questions, I will be able to answer all of you." If this was before, the people from Ocean Emperor Island wouldn't give him any face at all. But the situation was different now. They personally saw Hell Mountain's sincerity. At the same time, the 8 island heads were naturally tempted. Who didn't want to topple the alliance? It was just that they didn't have the chance. Now that the chance was right in front of them, how could they not grab it? Leader Yin, Jinming, your suggestion is indeed tempting. However, this isn't something that can be done so easily. As for the exact outcome, we have to consider it carefully. Island head Lan Song said. He was really tempted. If they really succeeded, then the things they would get wouldn't be something that they could imagine. Jinming said, "Of course. Don't worry, before we are confident, we won't do anything." Not long later, Ocean Emperor Island, Hell Mountain, and Yin Yang sect came to an agreement. Jinming laughed to himself. He didn't want to send the 3 of them to hell, but he wanted to borrow his strength to take revenge. He had decided to not do anything else for the rest of his life. He would just fight to the death with the Alliance headquarters. Either they died or he died. He had no regrets. A few days later, Marshall Path Mountain. During this period of time, Lin Fan didn't do anything and just allowed Zhao Lishan and the others to expand. He wanted to just let it be and raise his cultivation. Once his strength increased, he would wipe them all out. But this ambition and motivation couldn't be suppressed. He could only allow them to do whatever they wanted. "Young Master, does it feel good?" Mu Gang asked. She felt like her hands were made for Young Master. Her movements became more and more familiar, and her techniques became more and more advanced. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. And not bad, it feels good. Go Zi stood to the side and locked his eyes onto Mu Gang. This brat had her own thoughts, and he had to pay attention to her. He had to stop her from sprouting. Suddenly, Lin Fan said lazily, "Since you are here, then why hide? Come out." Go Zi and Mu Gang were shocked. They looked around like they were searching for the person hiding in the dimension. Ha ha, as expected from Lin Wani's son. I hid so deep and was still noticed. Amazing, amazing. Instantly, a voice spread out from the dimension and a person slowly walked out. Lin Fan frowned. You really don't know how to speak. My father is my father, and I am me. I will give you a chance to call me Sect Leader Lin. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave this place. Sect Leader Lin, don't blame me. I was rude. The person who walked out was an old man. His cultivation wasn't weak, but compared to Lin Fan, he was only around Dao Realm Stage 5. Lin Fan was curious. Who are you? I have never seen you before. I am Buddha Alliance Wangu Tower's Elder Shengli. Elder Shengli said. Go Zi was shocked. He didn't expect someone to hide so deep. With his cultivation, it was impossible for him not to notice. At this moment, Go Zi only felt that he was really weak. Lin Fan found it weird, Wangu Tower Buddha Alliance. He didn't expect that the person who found him would be from Buddha Alliance. Moreover, looking at his cultivation, he was only an elder. This meant that Wangu Tower was a top sect. Oh, why did Wangu Tower send you to Martial Path Mountain? He didn't have a good impression of the top sects, and his true goal was to wipe them all out. At the same time, that was his final goal. Although there were some twists and turns in the process, there was no need to say more about the final result. Shengli said, Sect Leader Lin, your Martial Path Mountain has been expanding recently. Now, you have reached the border of Buddha Alliance. That border is controlled by my Wangu Tower. The sect sent me here to talk to Sect Leader Lin to stop, and for the two sects to not interfere with one another. Is that so? Lin Fan was shocked. I didn't expect my people to expand so quickly. But your Wangu Tower is just too petty. Isn't it just some territory? You can't bring it with you when you are born, and you can't take it away when you die. Moreover, you won't last long. So why do you care about all this? Why not just give it out and save some trouble? When Shengli heard this, he felt like his words were a little off. He frowned and said unhappily, What do you mean, Sect Leader Lin? Lin Fan smiled. What else can I mean? Didn't I say it clearly? Does Martial Path Mountain's expansion need to depend on who controls it? I'm not afraid to tell you that all the land that Martial Path Mountain has is snatched from others. His words were a little overbearing. To Lin Fan, this was normal. He couldn't take a step back just because the outside world was controlled by a top sect. That wasn't his style at all. Sheng Li's expression turned dark and sunken, but it disappeared in a blink of an eye, and he returned to normal. Sect Leader Lin, this is the Wangu Tower treasure, the Golden Light Relic. It is really mysterious and is a gift for you. I hope that you can stop here. Even if the two sects had some conflicts, there are no eternal enemies in the world. There is only mutual benefit. This item was indeed a treasure, but it wasn't a rare item in the Wangu Tower. A Dao Realm expert could use a secret technique to refine it. So to Wangu Tower, who could continuously refine the Golden Light Relic, giving it away wasn't a big deal. As long as they could stop Martial Path Mountain's expansion, they would have reached their goal. Lin Fan curled his finger, and the Golden Light Relic flew out from his hand and landed in his palm. Not bad. If there are two, then it would be even better. I can wrap it around my fingers. Shengli frowned and cursed in his heart. How greedy, too. But forget it. Now wasn't the time to have a conflict with Martial Path Mountain. Sect Leader Lin, don't worry. As long as Sect Leader Lin agrees, I will send it over right away. Shengli said. Lin Fan glanced, and his brow rose up. He said lazily, Why go back? There is no need to go back. I want this thing, I want the territory, I want everything in your sect. Shengli couldn't take it anymore and hollered in rage. What is the meaning of this? Lin Fan laid there and enjoyed it. It is just what the words mean. Shortly after, he looked towards Water Emperor. His meaning was obvious. What was he waiting for? Beat him up. 1 second. 2 seconds. It was still so quiet. Water Emperor crossed his arms and looked at him with a playful expression. As for when he exchanged glances with Lin Fan, he just smiled. It was obvious that he didn't understand. Lin Fan frowned and exchanged glances with him once more. Water Emperor was confused. What was he doing? He didn't understand what that gaze meant. Was he trying to express something? Because he noticed young master's gaze. Seeing that Water Emperor didn't do anything, he became anxious. How could he let young master be in a situation where no one could understand his gaze? Gozi walked forwards, but Lin Fan stopped him. Lin Fan was at Dao Realm Stage 5, and even if Gozi used his head, he wouldn't be able to beat him. Shengli sensed that the situation wasn't right. He moved right away and wanted to flee this place. Although he was arrogant, he wasn't someone without foresight. The gap between his strength and Lin Fan's was huge. Since Lin Fan wanted to kill him, he would definitely die if he stayed here. Lin Fan, Wangu Tower doesn't want to be enemies with you, but you are just too much. I will report your actions, and you can just wait to die. Shengli dove into the dimension and ran really quickly. He was afraid that if he ran any slower, he wouldn't be able to leave anymore. Did I allow you to leave? Lin Fan hollered in rage. He could only attack himself. He got up and opened his fingers. Energy wrapped around his fingertips, and he grabbed towards the dimension. With a pong, a low thud spread out from the dimension, and a person fell from it. You're just at Dao Realm Stage 5, and you can come and go as you please. Have you thought about what kind of place this is? Lin Fan waved his arm and pressed his fingers towards the ground. There was a pong. Shengli smashed into the ground in a haggard manner. Just now, he felt an irresistible power strike his body. This kind of feeling made him feel terrified. You overestimate yourself. Lin Fan took a look and didn't care about him at all. He just needed a reason to fight with the top sections. After all, he needed a reason for everything. The reason could be really simple, like he was annoyed by you. Otherwise, if he caused trouble for no reason, wouldn't it make people feel like he was a lunatic? Lin Fan said, "Okay, it is time for us to move. It is time for us to deal with the top sections." He then looked towards Water Emperor. You've really disappointed this sect leader. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked towards Shengli, who was blocking the way. Water Emperor's face was stunned. He was totally stunned by Lin Fan. Oh my god, he just stood here and didn't do anything. He didn't even say a single word. He didn't cause any trouble at all. So how did he disappoint him? Isn't this a little too baffling? Gozi walked in front of Water Emperor and raised his head to take a look. He then shook his head in disappointment and sighed. It made Water Emperor panic a little. Damn, what was going on? It was totally random. What is the meaning of this? Can you tell me? Water Emperor pulled Gozi and asked. Gozi hesitated for a moment. You really disappoint, young master. Didn't you see his gaze? Gaze? Water Emperor recalled and saw it. I saw it, but what is wrong with it? Gozi, he didn't want to say more. Haze, if only young master's cousin was here. Chapter 528. What was going on? That was what Water Emperor was thinking about. Oi, speak clearly. What does my disappointment have to do with that person? Water Emperor was a person who learned and would ask when he didn't understand. Lin Fan's actions made his head hurt and he was totally stunned. This was why he had to ask and find out the truth. Gozi was entangled by Water Emperor and had made things clear. But Water Emperor's comprehension was too weak, and until now, he was still stunned. He had no choice. He could only be more direct. When Water Emperor learned the truth, he stood rooted to the spot. Damn, Water Emperor couldn't take it and cursed. People nowadays were just too much. He wasn't a professional fighter, so how would he understand what he was trying to say? What did he want to do? Just say it. Why did he have to rely on his gaze? Wasn't he just messing with him? Gozi shook his head. This was the gap between people. You won't be able to walk into young master's heart like this. Maybe wandering outside will be your final achievement. His words were a little deceptive. At the same time, Water Emperor was a little unhappy. At that moment, Lin Fan carried Shengli and walked into the distance. Haze, it doesn't feel good for a young man to carry an old man. He was an elder of Wangu Tower and was really strong. He couldn't be underestimated, but that was only to normal people. In Lin Fan's eyes, he was still really weak. Sheng Li hollered in rage. Let me go. Wangu Tower won't let you off. You want the two sects to fight, and Buddha Alliance won't let you off either. Facing Sheng Li's holler, Lin Fan was really calm. He didn't care about his actions at all. To him, only by hollering could he vent the rage in his heart. If his strength allowed him, he would have attacked right away. Why would he do this? Lin Fan waved his arms. Sheng Li was like a little chick. He felt like his bones had softened and he had no strength at all. Don't panic. I will send you back to the sects soon. He had already thought about it. His first battle with the top sects would start from Buddha Alliance, and Wangu Tower was a good choice. Sheng Li felt humiliated. He was here to talk. Logically speaking, even if they couldn't come to an agreement, they shouldn't attack him. However, these people from Marshall Path Mountain were just too much. He really wanted to beat Lin Fan to death. In the distance, Go Zi stood there and looked on as young master brought the old man into the secret room. He didn't know what would happen next. Perhaps she could feel the young master's overflowing love. How envious. Go. Zi shook his head and left. At night, Marshall Path Mountain's first peak combat strength meeting started. Zhao Lishan said calmly, Are we really going to attack Buddha Alliance, Wangu Tower? The sects they were dealing with were not ordinary sects, but true top-notch sections. They absolutely could not be careless because they would never know what was hidden in those top-notch sections. Lin Fan said, Didn't I make it clear in the day? Naturally, I will attack Wangu Tower. Swordhead thought about it and said, Wangu Tower is one of the top sects in Buddha Alliance, and they have many experts. Naturally, we can't compare to them in terms of numbers, but in terms of combat strength, we have chance. The divinator looked at everyone and laughed. This is a good thing. We will win right from the start, and there will be no danger. What is there to worry about? Zhao Lishan frowned. This is a huge matter, so how can we believe in something that doesn't exist? He was really annoyed with the divinator. He felt that this person was full of nonsense and was just trying to bluff him. Now that they were going to face a top sect, how could he do whatever he wanted? Lin Fan noticed that Water Emperor was sitting there and didn't say a single word. He thought that he had some idea, so he opened his mouth to ask, Water Emperor, what do you think? Water Emperor raised his head and was stunned. What idea can I have? I have no idea at all. He was thinking about the gaze that Go Zi mentioned. To see what one wanted to do from one's gaze was a skill that normal people couldn't do. He felt like it was too much. It felt really bad. Zhu Shan said, Since we want to deal with Wangu Tower, then we need a perfect strategy. Otherwise, it will be a tough battle. His words instantly gained everyone's approval, especially Zhao Lishan, who nodded his head and agreed with Zhu Shan's suggestion. At the same time, he looked towards the divinator like he was saying, Did you see that? This is reliable, unlike you who is full of nonsense. Lin Fan raised his hand. Okay, there is no need to discuss so much. I'm just telling all of you that we will fight tomorrow. He felt that Zhao Lishan and Zhu Shan were thinking too much. They just had to fight. Why did they have to go through so much trouble? If they didn't have the strength, then no matter how well they thought, it was useless. They would still be beaten up so badly that they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Now, Lin Fan was right. They were all disciples of Marshall Path Mountain. Now that the sect leader said that, what else could they say? Anyway, they just had to follow his lead. Wangu Tower. Sheng Li went to Marshall Path Mountain for a period of time. So why isn't he back yet? The higher-ups of Wangu Tower gathered together, and golden light seeped out from their bodies. It seeped into the dimension and then shot out, covering the entire tower in golden light. If normal people passed by, they would probably have to kneel down and worship them. It shouldn't be a problem. Although Marshall Path Mountain is strong, Wangu Tower is a top sect in Buddha Alliance. Even if they wanted, they won't do anything. Otherwise, not only will they face Wangu Tower, but they will also face the entire Buddha Alliance. Those words are true. Sheng Li is using Wangu Tower's sincerity to negotiate with them. He has already given Marshall Path Mountain enough face, so how can they not know what is good for them? Suddenly, the higher-ups sensed a few strong auras spreading over. One of them was really familiar. Sheng Li. It seemed like Shengli had returned, and he brought some people with him. They were probably from Marshall Path Mountain, outside Wangu Tower. Look, this is the Wangu Tower. It is a decent place. It is majestic and holy. If someone who hasn't seen the world faced such a situation, they might have been tricked by them. Lin Fan pointed at the Wangu Tower and praised it. It was like he was sizing up something. It was obvious that he didn't care about Wangu Tower at all. Now look at those few towers. They look really good. Marshall Path Mountain lacks such buildings with character. Lin Fan said. He touched his chin like he thought about something and was instantly interested. Oh, right. In the future, when we fight those top sects, as long as we break one, we will take their symbolic buildings and place them in Marshall Path Mountain. Thousands of years later, when people see them, they will naturally remember what they are. Isn't that right? Lin Fan's idea was a little dangerous. He actually had a weird habit of collecting things. Water Emperor's eyes shone. Sect Leader Lin, your idea is really good. I'm willing to be a mover. Who would want to leave their names in history? To gather all the symbolic buildings of the top sects together. In the future, when people saw these buildings, they would be able to think about the achievements of their ancestors. Just thinking about it made him feel really good. During this period of time, Shengli had been tortured. Although his body wasn't badly injured, his heart suffered a huge blow. In his eyes, Lin Fan looked like a human, but his methods were just too terrifying. He had heard everything they had said. Rage burned in his heart. Damn, he came to Wangu Tower, and not only was he not careful, he actually wanted to split the Wangu Tower treasure. That was just so annoying. Zhao Lishan was helpless. If Water Emperor was the one who said those words, he would have scolded him for being more serious. They were facing a top sect, Wangu Tower, and they weren't here to mess around. But since young Master Lin was messing around, he couldn't say anything. Just at that moment, a laugh spread from the distance. Sect Leader Lin, sorry for not welcoming you. Wangu Tower Sect Leader personally welcomed him. That was a huge honor. To all the Wangu Tower disciples, they were really shocked. Who was it that actually made the sect leader personally welcome him? That was just so weird. Each sect had their own geniuses. As a top sect, Wangu Tower naturally had their own geniuses. But compared to Lin Fan, the gap was huge. One was heaven and one was earth. There was no comparison at all. There is no need to welcome me. I'm not a guest. Lin Fan smiled. It seemed like he didn't understand what was going on. Shengli hollered, Sect Leader, Marshall Path Mountain wants to wipe out Wangu Tower. They aren't here to talk. Uproar. Wangu Tower people were shocked by Sheng-Li's words, and they looked towards Lin Fan in shock. They were here to cause trouble? Just a few of them. Wangu Tower Sect Leader retracted his smile, and a fierce glow appeared in his eyes. Sect Leader Lin, what is the meaning of this? Lin Fan said, your sect blocked the wind from Marshall Path Mountain. The weather is too hot, and the wind can't blow. At that moment, not only were the Wangu Tower people stunned, but even Zhao Lishan and the others were stunned. Oh my god, what kind of lousy reason was that? If he wanted to find a reason, he should have found a good one. You are here to cause trouble. Wangu Tower Sect Leader hollered in rage. He didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually disregard Wangu Tower so much. He deserved to die. Lin Fan smiled. I am not here to cause trouble. I am here to wipe all of you out. When he said the latter half of his words, two shocking auras clashed with one another in the air. ZZ. The aura was too strong, and it twisted the space. At the same time, lightning flashed, and a battle was about to erupt. Good. You really are arrogant. Let's see how strong you are. Wangu Tower Sect Leader wasn't a coward. How could he let someone bully him like that? To Lin Fan, the feeling he had right now was pretty good. Rage points increased. As expected, only by being arrogant could one make others angry. Moreover, it would provide him with surprise rage points. Fight! Lin Fan hollered. He was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. He smashed the Sheng-Li in his hand towards the other party and then disappeared from the spot. Zhao Lishan and the others were helpless. This was a head-on clash. Couldn't they talk about strategy? Chapter 529. What a despicable fellow. Wangu Tower Sect Leader was furious. He didn't expect Lin Fan to smack Shengli towards him right away. One didn't even need to think, and he knew how dangerous it would be. Sect leader, save me. Shengli panicked, and his face was ashen white. He was about to curse Lin Fan to death. That jerk. Why did he have to drag him down? Wangu Tower sect leader hesitated. Naturally, he couldn't watch on as Shengli died. He was a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, and if he died here, it wouldn't be worth it. At that moment, Wangu Tower sect leader didn't attack. He was prepared to catch Shengli at the crucial moment. At the same time, he looked to the side, and a look of shock appeared on his face. He noticed Water Emperor, and there was actually another Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. How is that possible? To the Wangu Tower people, even if they had the numbers advantage, they felt a huge pressure covering their bodies. After all, apart from Lin Fan, they were facing a true Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. Although the divinator wasn't as strong as Water Emperor, he wasn't someone to be underestimated. Out of all of them, Zhu Shun's cultivation was the weakest. Just at that moment, Wangu Tower sect leader wanted to use the chance to save Shengli. Shengli was delighted. As expected, the sect leader cared about him. He was filled with gratitude. But suddenly, something weird happened. To him, he felt his hair stand on their ends. It was as if an ancient beast was staring at him from behind. He prayed in his heart, "Please don't let anything happen to him." "Lin Fan, you dare." Wangu Tower sect leader hollered in rage. He had already predicted what was about to happen. When Shengli heard the roar of his grandmaster, he was completely flustered. At that moment, a strong aura appeared behind Shengli's back. Lin Fan raised his hand and smiled. He clenched his fingers into a fist and waved it forwards, hitting the dog from behind. There was a loud explosion. His fists landed on Shengli's back, and a shocking and unstoppable power exploded. Shengli's body couldn't handle such power, and it started to break apart. It instantly shattered. Shortly after, Lin Fan's power wasn't blocked at all. Instead, it gathered into a power that could rip apart the sky and struck towards Wangu Tower sect leader. Bastard! Wangu Tower sect leader's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He personally saw Shengli explode in front of him, and as the sect leader, he was helpless. Rumble! Wangu Tower sect leader hollered in rage, and a rumbling power surged out from his body. The two forces collided. Heaven and earth shook, and the sky was torn apart. As expected, he's not just for show. He does have some ability. Lin Fan praised, "Your strength is not bad. You have already gained my recognition, but it is still not enough." His words were truly arrogant. Wangu Tower sect leader was furious. A ball of flames burned in his heart and couldn't be extinguished. He had never met such an arrogant and savage person, killing a sect elder in front of him. Moreover, he even dared to provoke him. He was truly despicable to the extreme. Instantly, a blood-curdling scream came from afar. You guys are too weak. You want to fight against me with just your strength? You guys are simply overestimating yourselves." Water Emperor was in a good mood. To him, beating up kids was the happiest thing. Wangu Tower's elders weren't weak, but compared to Water Emperor, the gap was huge. The Wangu Tower sect leader was anxious. Although he expected such an outcome, when he personally witnessed it, he still couldn't take it. Lin Fan smiled and said, "I say, you should pay attention to yourself. Your current situation is only slightly better than theirs, but very soon you will become even more miserable than them." Wangu Tower sect leader hollered in rage. "Lin Fan, do you really want to do that?" If that was possible, he hoped that there wouldn't be any battles. This was not a good thing for any sect. Unfortunately, with the current situation, how could Lin Fan stop just like that? So to Wangu Tower sect leader, just thinking about it was enough. He could only use all his strength to fight against Lin Fan. Good, as expected. Do you really think that Wangu Tower is something that you can wipe out just because you want to? Wangu Tower sect leader hollered in rage. Flames of rage exploded in his heart. At that moment, Wangu Tower sect leader opened his fingers and hollered. He grabbed towards the sect. At that moment, a golden light rose from the ground and covered Wangu Tower. Lin Fan looked on in shock and frowned. It was obvious that he didn't expect them to have such a trump card. From the golden light, he sensed a terrifying aura, although it was filled with a holy aura. Killing intent surged within and struck his heart. Wangu Tower sect leader raged. Lin Fan, you are a bully. Even if I use the sect's foundations, I will kill all of you. Okay, bring it on. Let me see what kind of foundations your sect has. Lin Fan said. He didn't hold them in any regard at all. Even if there were just a few of them, their combat strength was at the peak. How could these small fries touch them? Wangu Tower had many disciples, but they were too weak. In this battle, they couldn't help at all. Sect leader Lin, be careful. Water Emperor frowned and looked around warily. Just now, he sensed a really strong power brewing. Wong, just at that moment, the disciples who were swaying in the wind and rain had a shocking change at that moment. They sat cross-legged on the spot, ignoring the tremors around and chanting scriptures. Their voices went from buzzing to shaking heaven and earth, wrapping around the sky. Shortly after, these disciples were covered in a golden light. There was a golden line that connected them together. A simple and unadorned pagoda shone brilliantly. The surface of the tower was covered in scars from time, but the moment the golden light wrapped around it, those scars fell off and revealed the jade-like body. I didn't expect them to have such foundations. Lin Fan thought that they were bragging, but looking at the situation, it seemed like what he said was true. They did have unimaginable foundations. Lin, I remember everything that you have done to Wangu Tower. Now, you will face the rage of all the seniors in the history of Wangu Tower. Come out. The moment he said this, in the air above the ancient pagoda, an illusory figure appeared. It was a gigantic pagoda Buddha with a jade-like body, without any impurities. This pagoda Buddha was thousands of zhang tall. The light didn't enter its body, and when it shone, it pierced through. At the same time, if one looked closely, the inside of the Buddha looked like it was formed from many galaxies. Amazing, Lin Fan praised. He wasn't lying, but he really felt that Wangu Tower was amazing. He had underestimated them. Thinking about it, it made sense. Buddha Alliance top sects, no matter what, weren't normal sects that could compare to them. They all had foundations that normal people didn't know about. Only when the sect faced danger would they appear in front of everyone. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that the pagoda Buddha was looking at him. He met the pagoda Buddha's gaze, and he could see the anger in those jade-like eyes. Instantly, the Buddha retracted his gaze and raised his hand. A giant palm covered the sky and smashed towards Water Emperor. Amazing, his strength is a little shocking. Water Emperor exclaimed. His words were a little arrogant, but his expression was solemn. It was obvious that he held the Buddha in high regard. He only had one thought in his heart. This pagoda Buddha could pose a threat to him. Sect leader Lin, suppress this old man. This Buddha is formed from the foundations of Wangu Tower, and its strength is really terrifying. We might not be able to suppress it. Water Emperor didn't dare to guarantee anything. After all, they were still in Wangu Tower in their territory. This thing was Wangu Tower's Buddha, and it had endless power. Even if they fought for a long time, they would definitely suffer in the end. Understood. Lin Fan was helpless. Water Emperor was really good at slacking. With his Tao Realm Stage 7 cultivation, he actually didn't have much confidence. What else could he say? But after this matter, he also deeply understood a problem. Some top sects weren't as weak as he thought. They were actually really strong. How long? In the distance. When the palm of the pagoda Buddha landed, there was no shocking or chilling phenomenon. When the palm landed on the ground, it actually passed through the disciples who were sitting cross-legged and fused with the ground. Water Emperor was solemn, and his heart jumped. He looked towards the ground. This palm seemed really simple and didn't have any strength at all. But to Water Emperor, that wasn't the case. It was really terrifying, and there was a world within it. The Buddha and Wangu Tower merged into one. It wouldn't affect the Wangu Tower disciples at all. Zhao Lishan, Zhu Shun, the two of you are weaker, so be careful. Water Emperor seemed like he was concerned, but in truth, he was telling them that they were just too weak and that they should just flee. This thing could kill them. Zhu Shun was really annoyed by Water Emperor's words. What was he even saying? Was he even human? In the distance, Lin Fan and Wangu Tower sect leader fought one another. Their fists shook the land, and the aura was really shocking. The sky was about to be ripped apart. The ripples from the battle between two Dao Realm Stage 7 experts were really terrifying. If Lin Fan wanted to take down the other party, he would require some time as well. Occasionally, he would pay attention to the Buddha. As expected, it was really strong. Water Emperor wasn't able to suppress it in a short period of time. The peak experts of Wangu Tower gathered their strength together. Even if it wasn't their peak strength when they gathered together, it was so terrifying that it couldn't be described with words. As the battle continued, Wangu Tower sect leader's face was dark and sunken. Sect leader Lin, do you really want to fight to the death with my sect? Wangu Tower sect leader scolded in rage. Until now, he knew that even if he suppressed Lin Fan, Wangu Tower would suffer heavy losses and might even fall below the top sections. So, it was best if they didn't have to fight this battle. Otherwise, the price would be huge. Chapter 530. Lin Fan felt like he had heard a huge joke. Do you think that is possible now? Don't think so much. It is useless. Fight well. Looking at the situation, this might be the last battle in your life. To him, the Wangu Tower sect leader was a coward. If he was the sect leader and someone attacked him, even if he was no match, he wouldn't back down. Even if he died, he would fight on. How would he be like the Wangu Tower sect leader, who actually didn't want to fight? Good, very good. The Wangu Tower sect leader was at the peak of rage, and he was about to explode. But he was terrified of Lin Fan's strength. He was just too strong. He had never faced such a person before. If he knew that this would happen, even if Lin Wani chased him, he would have wiped out this kid. What a waste. When the Alliance headquarters told them about this matter, they hoped that they could kill Lin Fan here. But unfortunately, the thoughts of the four alliances were really simple. They treated it as a way for the Alliance headquarters to use someone else to kill them. If they wanted to kill Lin Fan at this point, the difficulty would be way too high. Pung. Lin Fan appeared in front of the Wangu Tower sect leader. He clenched his fists, and a demon ape appeared in the air. It was totally black and gave off an iron-like glow. It roared in rage and shook the entire area. Then, like Lin Fan, the demon ape clenched his fists and smashed towards him with an unstoppable aura. The aura was shocking. The Wangu Tower sect leader felt an unstoppable power surging towards him. It was like he was in a storm, and he couldn't even stand properly. He didn't expect Lin Fan to have such a move. It was really aggressive, and it was tough for him to dodge. He could only take it head-on. Wangu Tower sect leader slapped in rage. It turned into a majestic and holy Buddha palm, like it was going to suppress the evil demons in the world. Lie down. Lin Fan hollered in rage and charged forwards. The power in his body boiled, and he obviously wouldn't hold back. If he didn't hammer this old man to death, then he would have come for nothing. Pung! A shocking hammer clashed with the Buddha palm. Instantly, the Buddha palm shattered. What? Wangu Tower sect leader was shocked and didn't expect this to happen. Lin Fan's attacks were still strong, and the Wangu Tower sect leader's stomach was heavily injured. With a pung, a low thud spread out and shockwaves swept out in all directions. Wangu Tower sect leader fell towards the ground. There was a loud rumble. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. The entire earth trembled violently. When the disciples saw their master being hammered to the ground, they started to panic. Hee. Lin Fan stood in the air and looked down. He smiled. As expected, he was going to get beaten up. Until now, he still didn't have the ability to crush his opponent. But as long as the battle continued, he would let his opponent know how terrifying his strength was. At this moment, Lin Fan raised his arm. A sharp sword will appeared in the air and coiled around him. Go! Lin Fan was expressionless as he pressed down with his palm. The sword will around him buzzed and slammed down. Crackle! It continued to shake and the ground shook crazily. Wangu Tower was an ancient sect, And because of their cultivation characteristics, each time they cultivated, a thread of power would seep out to nourish Wangu Tower. Even the ground of Wangu Tower was much tougher than outside. But in front of absolute strength, everything was just a paper tiger, and it instantly collapsed. Stop acting dead. My hands were just itchy, and I wanted to test out the sword Dao. Such attacks shouldn't be able to cause much damage to you, Lin Fan said calmly. The moment he said this, there was a loud explosion. Wangu Tower sect leader slowly floated up from the deep hole. Although he looked a little haggard, the sword attack didn't cause much damage to him. Damn things, I will make sure that all of you die here. Wangu Tower sect leader was furious. He was totally forced to the point of collapse by Lin Fan, and he couldn't accept everything that he was facing. Lin Fan chuckled. Based on your current strength, I'm afraid you don't have the ability to keep us here, do you? You could just talk about it and vent your frustrations. If that's the case, I'll do as you wish. He didn't have a good impression of the top sections. Now that he was developing Martial Path Mountain, when he faced the top sects, naturally, he would go all out. There was no need to use the Chief God's believers. It was enough to place them near Martial Path Mountain. His thoughts were simple. These people were left for the Alliance headquarters. When they fought the Alliance headquarters, it would be a little problematic. They weren't like the top sects who weren't united. Kiki. At that moment, Wangu Tower sect leader laughed coldly. His laughter was different from normal. At that moment, Wangu Tower sect leader's body slowly dissipated, turning into many crystals that struck towards the Buddha. He was going to merge with it. Water Emperor, pay attention. He is going to use his ultimate move. Lin Fan reminded. Even he had to pay attention to the situation. The Buddha was tangling with Water Emperor and the others. Now that Wangu Tower sect leader merged with the Buddha, what kind of shocking thing would happen? Without personally witnessing it, naturally, it was hard to imagine. What? Water Emperor asked curiously. Shortly after, the Buddha punched. The dimension shattered and a strong aura covered Water Emperor. This shocked Water Emperor. It was even stronger than before. How long? Water Emperor took it head-on. His expression changed, and he retreated. After retreating a certain distance, he slowly stopped. This fellow has become stronger. For Water Emperor, there was only one thing in his mind. Times had changed. Were people so strong now? He was an expert from the old era. Dao Realm Stage 7 was the peak of this world. As for Stage 8 or 9, that was just a legend. With the current situation, it was impossible. Wangu Tower's Buddha merged with the sect leader, and its body became even larger. It was just a shocking sight. The pure Buddha was like a god of heaven and earth, and each of its actions gave off an aura of majesty. Lin Fan said, Water Emperor, you are a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. Why is it so difficult for you to deal with one Buddha? Water Emperor was a little unhappy. Sect leader Lin, that isn't right. This Buddha is the power that Wangu Tower gathered over many years. In terms of true strength, it isn't weaker than mine. How can I suppress it so easily? Lin Fan shook his head. In the end, I am still too weak. Forget it. I won't argue with you on this. Some things have to be admitted. Let's work together to suppress him and break the Wangu Tower. Although this place isn't much, those towers have their own personality. I like it. Water Emperor was helpless. His words were just so bad. One couldn't bear to listen to him at all. Zhu Shun and the others were able to deal with other people, but they were helpless against the Buddha. If they weren't careful, they might even be destroyed. Damn, all of you deserve to die. The Buddha that merged with the Wangu Tower sect leader could already speak. If not for the killing intent spreading around, people might have really treated it as a true god. The Buddha's rage swept the area. It opened its fingers and descended from above. Its palm covered the sky and controlled the entire area. As it descended, the pressure it formed became more and more terrifying. Kiki. Lin Fan laughed and disappeared from a spot. He rose into the air, and shortly after, his body swelled in mid-air. Dao Realm Stage 4 astronomical phenomenon was really strong. There was a loud explosion. The powers clashed with one another and formed a strong wind that swept everything around. Come, Lin Fan hollered in rage. He waved his fists and sped up. Although his body was huge, it didn't affect his speed at all. Pung, pung. The two of them clashed. His dual cultivation had reached Dao Realm Stage 4, and his physical body was really strong. Moreover, he had the Blood Demon reversal technique, so who would he be afraid of in a fight? As long as you couldn't kill me in one move, then you had no future at all. Hung Long. Lin Fan punched the Buddha's body, and the Buddha's palm landed on Lin Fan's body. The two of them flew backward, and their giant bodies affected the surrounding environment. When the Buddha was injured, an invisible ripple spread out. Those sitting disciples dissipated without any pain on their faces and turned to dust. Kiki. Lin Fan was injured, so he had to look up to him. Wangu Tower is really strong. Wiping out Beast Monster Sect was just a waste of time. I didn't expect your sect to have such ability. Lin Fan looked up to Wangu Tower. Amazing, really amazing. You had to look up to them. A Dao Realm Stage 7 expert and another expert with Stage 7 strength surrounded one person and were still unable to take him down. One could only say that they were really amazing. But this is the end. Let's see how long you can last. The moment he said this, Lin Fan hollered and 117 Dao patterns formed in his palms. These were all the Dao patterns he had formed so far. Uproar. When he used these Dao patterns, the sky shook, and it was tough to block this terrifying power. Water Emperor was shocked. Amazing, I didn't expect him to have so many Dao patterns. He knew that Lin Fan was only at Dao Realm Stage 4, but he didn't know why he could suppress someone at Dao Realm Stage 7. Only now did he know that he had formed so many Dao patterns. Moreover, he knew that Lin Fan was a dual cultivator and had reached Dao Realm Stage 7. This was something impossible in the outside world. It was even possible for him to become a legend. Kill. Lin Fan grabbed with his fingers, and the Dao patterns gathered together. He then struck the Buddha. Hung Long. The collision of power was much more terrifying than before. The Buddha was shaken. Facing such strong power, even it couldn't block it. It retreated and cracks appeared on its perfect body. This could be said to be the strongest opponent Lin Fan had ever faced. The Buddha could only exist in Wangu Tower, and it was useless if it left this place. So, even if someone wanted to wipe them out, they definitely wouldn't head to their sect. They were afraid that an unknown person would appear. Water Emperor looked at Lin Fan's strength and was a little stunned. What was going on with sect leader Lin? He formed his own Dao patterns to attack. Wasn't he tired at all? After a long while. Go to hell. Lin Fan hollered in rage. His fists landed and the dimension exploded. His fists landed on the Buddha's body and a low thud spread out. One felt like their eardrums were about to explode. The Buddha retreated, and it couldn't take such power at all. With such a huge body, it would be extremely difficult to even shake it by a little. But now, not only did he shake it by a little, he actually managed to force it back, leaving behind several bottomless pits in the ground. There was a cracking sound. The surface of the Buddha started to crack, and many jade-like shrapnel fell off. Who? Lin Fan took in a deep breath, and fresh blood dripped from his body. Water Emperor, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're really slacking off. How did you help in this battle? He was really impressed. He wanted to take him down together with Water Emperor. Who knew that Water Emperor was so good at dodging attacks? The Buddha didn't even hit him once. In the end, it gave up on Water Emperor and attacked him. Water Emperor's face flushed red, and he acted calm. I attracted the firepower too. Lin Fan shook his head. He really wanted to press Water Emperor to the ground and step on him. To even say such words, he was just shameless. Cough, cough. In the distance, Wangu Tower sect leader coughed and spat out fresh blood. His limbs were powerless, and it was tough for him to even lift a finger. Lin Fan used the Blood Demon reversal technique to recover his injuries. He then walked forwards. Lin Fan slowly walked in front of Wangu Tower sect leader. How is it? Am I right? This will be your last battle. However, I have already acknowledged your strength. You are indeed very strong, but a large part of it is because of that Pagoda Buddha. If it wasn't for that Pagoda Buddha, you might not have been able to last until now. You cruel demon. Wangu Tower sect leader looked at Lin Fan in rage. My sect disciples died because of you. Wangu Tower was really empty now. Those disciples had already vanished in a thin air, completely disappearing from this world without a trace. The destruction of the Pagoda Buddha affected their bodies. With their strength, how could they withstand it? Like fireworks, they exploded in an instant. Lin Fan said, "Don't make it sound so scary. The border needed help, and only Sword Palace helped. The others wanted to benefit from it and caused many casualties. I promised them that I would take revenge for them. The Alliance is an enemy, and so are all of you top sections. So, the reason why I came to Wangu Tower wasn't because you blocked the wind, but because I really wanted to wipe you all out." Wangu Tower sect leader's emotions fluctuated. "You jerk." He was furious. Because of all these reasons, Wangu Tower was wiped out in his hands. That was a huge humiliation. He was filled with terror. It wasn't easy for him to reach Dao Realm Stage 7 step by step. At such a stage, as long as it wasn't a natural disaster, he definitely wouldn't die. Unfortunately, he faced Lin Fan, a person who was like a mad dog. Lin Fan smiled. "I can send you on your way. Don't worry, you aren't the first. Beast Monster Sect will accompany you, and more sects will follow you. You won't be alone." Chapter 531. Wangu Tower sect leader knew that there was no hope. He laughed. "Lin, don't be too gleeful. You will pay a heavy price for your actions. I will wait for you below." He knew that Lin Fan wouldn't let him live. As the sect leader, he wouldn't beg for mercy and beg others to let him off. Those were actions that would lower his status, and even if he did, it would be useless. Lin Fan chuckled and stomped down with his foot. With a loud thud, his strength swept out and caused the corpse to explode. "It is over." This battle was a little intense. Fortunately, Water Emperor helped, otherwise it wouldn't have been so easy. But Water Emperor was really lazy. One could say that he helped, but one could also say that he didn't help at all. The key was still himself. Zhao Lishan and the others were slightly weaker and could only deal with some elders. But that was enough. If not, when he fought with Wangu Tower sect leader, the elders would run when they saw that the situation was bad. Even if he wanted to stop them, he wouldn't have a chance. Water Emperor exclaimed, "I have roamed the world for so long and have never seen a top sect being wiped out. With our strength, we actually did it." He was a little shocked. Although there were two who were at Dao Realm Stage 7, even then, they shouldn't have been able to do that. What was the reason behind it? It was worth a deeper level of consideration. He could think about it carefully. Lin Fan said, "What is there to worry about? They are just top sections. In the future, we will wipe out more top sections." "Shush, just keep those words to yourself. Don't say it out loud." Water Emperor was really frightened by Lin Fan's words. If others hear your words, not only will they laugh at you, but they will also be afraid. Keep your secrets to yourself. Safety is the most important thing. "Huh, look at how cowardly you are. Haze, Dao Realm Stage 7. Lin Fan smiled. He knew that he was about to face some Buddha Alliance sections. If they found out that he wiped out Wangu Tower, maybe they wouldn't do anything extreme, but they definitely wouldn't just ignore it. Water Emperor said, "I'm trying to play it safe." Zhao Lishan's face was flushed red. "Young Master Lin, what should we do next?" He felt really good, and it would be a lie to say that he wasn't emotional. When he was guarding the border, the helplessness of having no one to help him was too unbearable. But now that he saw these top sects being destroyed, it was simply too refreshing. Lin Fan said, "Move what should be moved. A top sect definitely has many resources. Bring people to scavenge. I want to move that tower back." The most beautiful part of Wangu Tower was the tall tower in the distance. The Buddha was formed from this tower. No matter how it was used, moving it to Marshall Path Mountain was a symbol. "All right," Zhao Lishan replied. He brought Zhu Shun and the others to head in. The battle just now destroyed many buildings, but due to the existence of the Buddha, many places were protected. They were like a group of bandits who had entered a rich man's house, taking whatever they saw. To Lin Fan, his rage points had increased by a lot. If he continued to work hard, he had a chance of reaching Tao Realm Stage 5. Lin Fan came to the front of the tower. This tower was called the Ancestral Tower in Wangu Tower, and it consecrated the relics of all the ancestors of Wangu Tower. They used the power of the entire sect to nurture the Buddhist spirit within. But now, the relics enshrined in this tower were all broken, and only a little bit of power remained. But soon, they would disappear and become ordinary objects. But to Lin Fan, he didn't care about how strong something was. He just felt that it looked good and that he liked it. He just wanted to bring it back. He used strength, and the tower rose from the ground. When it left the ground, it left a deep hole. Golden energy seeped into the air and dissipated. What a waste. Lin Fan shook his head. How could he not tell what the golden energy was? But what could he do? After moving the ancestral tower, naturally, the golden energy would dissipate too. Very quickly, Zhao Lishan and the others had harvested the entire Wangu Tower. They were really careful, and if the situation allowed, they could even jump into the *T hole to see whether or not there were any hidden treasures. Let's go back to the sect. With a wave of Lin Fan's hand, the group of people left happily. Only the Wangu Tower that was in ruins was left. Not long after Lin Fan and the others left, experts arrived. They were hiding around, but they didn't dare to get close. Wangu Tower was destroyed, and that was a huge blow to them. If they hadn't personally witnessed it, they wouldn't have believed that such a thing would happen. A few days later, they spread the news. When the four alliances found out that Wangu Tower was wiped out, they were shocked and filled with disbelief. Wangu Tower wasn't weak among the top sections, especially since they were wiped out on their own territory. How could Wangu Tower let them off? But even then, they were still wiped out. Martial Path Mountain, Lin Fan. This was a name that the four alliances didn't like to hear spread once more. Buddha Alliance. White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain's Gyuan had a solemn expression. Do all of you have nothing to say? If Wangu Tower can be wiped out today, it might be us in the future. Brother Gyuan, this is a little scary. No matter how strong Lin Fan is, he is just one person. Wangu Tower being wiped out only means that Wangu Tower is weak. Tell him to come to my sect, and I guarantee that he won't be able to return. Great Zen sect old ancestor Tian Shan said. The moment he said this, people mocked him, old ancestor Tian Shan, who doesn't know how to brag. Everyone here knows how strong Wangu Tower is. Who dares to say that they can wipe out Wangu Tower? Old ancestor Tian Shan wanted to brag, but he didn't expect that they wouldn't let him off. He was a little angry, but he had no choice. Whether or not he was bragging, he knew himself. This was why he didn't say anything and kept silent. Then, what do you think we should do? This question had truly stumped them. Everyone was thinking about what to do next. Gyuan noticed that their gazes were a little off. Why are all of you looking at me like that? This isn't just about me, but it is also about all of you. Brother Gyuan, White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain, is the leader of the top sects in Buddha Alliance. That is an undeniable fact. Now that Martial Path Mountain's Lin has provoked us so many times, how can we not care? If not, we will lose face. Right? We need Brother Gyuan to make a decision. Right, Brother Gyuan, please think of a way. Gyuan cursed in his heart. A bunch of scammers. In the past, none of them acknowledged him. Now that such a thing happened, they knew who to blame. Well, how to say that? How could he not know the true thoughts in the hearts of these people? Gyuan said, this matter is huge, but it is also small. It depends on what all of you think. We can work together to wipe out Martial Path Mountain, but with their strength, we will have to pay a price. It depends on whether or not all of you are willing. As expected, when everyone heard that, they hesitated. In the past, they didn't know Martial Path Mountain's strength, and maybe they didn't care about them at all. But the strength that Martial Path Mountain displayed now was extraordinary. Who would go first? This was a serious question. Anyway, no sect would be willing to be the first, unless there was a hole in the head of that sect. Gyuan realized that the entire area was silent. It was totally silent, and he felt helpless. Damn, when he got to the main point, no one replied. As expected, they really saw through everything. Why aren't you saying anything? Gu Yuan's expression was one of mocking. What was the saying? He saw how cowardly all of them were today. A bunch of all-mouthy king people. Brother Gu Yuan, why don't you lead? If you need anything, we won't reject you. The sect leader said. Kiki. Gu Yuan looked at that person and mocked. Don't you feel ashamed when you say such words? This concerns White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain and also everyone here. As sect leaders of top sects, don't you have any responsibility? Silence. No one spoke. The top sects looked strong, but after so many years, they had never seen any top sects fight one another. They were afraid that both sides would suffer heavy losses and others would take advantage of them. So now that Martial Path Mountain was suppressing Wangu Tower, they panicked a little. But most of them felt that it didn't implicate them, so they just stood there and watched. Maybe it had nothing to do with them, and if they stepped out, they would lose out. At this moment, a sect leader said, based on what I know, the reason why Martial Path Mountain wiped out Wangu Tower was because they wanted to expand their territory. Wangu Tower blocked their path, so there was a conflict between the two sides. Buddha Alliance's territory is endless like an abyss, so it is okay for them to give up some territory. So we can admit that Martial Path Mountain is a top sect. Yeah, those words make sense. That's right, I agree. There must be a conflict of interest. Otherwise, who would have a conflict with someone else for no reason? Don't you think so? When this person said these words, he laughed out loud. He didn't sense the problem at all. Gu Yuan looked at their faces. He felt helpless. These bunch of fools. Things had reached such a stage, and they were still thinking about things so beautifully. If Lin Fan knew what they were thinking, he would probably nod his head. They were just blocking the path and didn't mean anything else. But his true meaning was obvious. He would just F*CK them up. If they were unhappy, then they would F*CK them up. Who cared whether or not they were blocking the path? When the other three alliances learned that Buddha Alliance Wangu Tower was wiped out, they gloated. Anyway, all of this didn't matter to them. They weren't the ones who were wiped out. Buddha Alliance's top sects were more than happy to be wiped out. Martial Path Mountain. Go Z. What do you think about the tower? Don't you feel that it is really overbearing? Although it doesn't fit in with Martial Path Mountain, it somehow raises its class. Lin Fan laid there and enjoyed it. He pointed at the tower and was really satisfied with his spoils of war. Gozi said, perfect, it is just too perfect. To Gozi, he really couldn't see what was good about the tower. But as one of young master's loyal lackeys, no matter what, as long as young master said it was beautiful, then it was beautiful. Chapter 532. Lin Fan moved the ancestral tower back to the sect and found a good place to place it. At the same time, he hung some lanterns on it to decorate it. From afar, it looked really beautiful. During the battle with Wangu Tower, he realized that he was lacking. It was okay that he could fight, but the key was that he didn't have many people around him who could. Water Emperor was Dao Realm Stage 7, but he loved to slack off. Moreover, it reached a really serious stage. It gave him a huge headache. He gained a lot from Wangu Tower. He gained 1,000,000 rage points and increased 10 Dao realm techniques. He also gained 127 Dao patterns. Although he didn't reach Dao Realm Stage 5, his strength increased once more. Maybe in just a short while, he would reach Dao Realm Stage 5. Very soon, it shouldn't be too far away. Sect Leader Lin, what should we do next? Water Emperor felt really good. Wiping out Wangu Tower made him feel like his future would be bright. Looking at this ancestral tower, it was a decent thing. Although it wasn't as useful as it was in Wangu Tower, it was still a symbol in Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan took a look. We just wiped out Wangu Tower, and you are already so eager. Water Emperor smiled. I am motivated. Only Sect Leader Lin can wipe out a Buddha Alliance top sect just like that. If other people did it, they wouldn't even dare to think about it. He just silently sucked up to him. To Water Emperor, it wasn't much. Moreover, he wouldn't let others think that he was sucking up to him. He had lived for so long and was a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. So how could he do such a lowly thing? Rest, don't be too anxious. Let's see what Buddha Alliance is prepared to do. Lin Fan said. He wanted to know what Buddha Alliance would do when they faced such a situation. Would they sit still and not do anything, or would they gather people to fight? Water Emperor felt regretful. Then, this is a little unfortunate. We will chase them and strike them when they least expect it. Only then will they know how strong we are. Lin Fan took a look. What he said was all nonsense. He would always be the one to attack. It was useless to rely on Water Emperor, so it was better to look at the situation. During this period of time, Lin Fan was really relaxed in Marshall Path Mountain and didn't care about anything. He ate delicious food and drank spicy food every day. Along with Mu Gang's craftsmanship getting better and better, his life was as happy as that of a deity. The only regret was that he hadn't found his cousin yet. He didn't know where his cousin ran off to. However, he did not panic at all. Cousin has his own fate, and one day we will meet again. Recently, Buddha Alliance discussed several times, but didn't come up with anything valuable. If they could unite so easily, the Imperial Dynasty wouldn't have controlled them for so long. Thus, the Wangu Tower incident slowly calmed down. Gu Yuan knew that Lin Fan definitely couldn't be left alive. Marshall Path Mountain's existence threatened their position. At the same time, Marshall Path Mountain occupied Wangu Tower's territory and stretched their hands into Buddha Alliance. They had to stop them, but it was too dangerous for him to go alone. He wasn't afraid that Lin Fan could do anything to him. But what if there was a mishap? Other people didn't understand what kind of person Lin Fan was. Gu Yuan saw that he wasn't easy to deal with. He didn't have his father's foresight and didn't care about the big picture. He was too crazy, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was a mad dog. This was why he needed to gather some people to have a good talk with Lin Fan. He talked to Su Yuanming and hoped that he could tell the Celestial Alliance people about the current situation. If they allowed Lin Fan to continue developing, there would be endless problems. Once he couldn't be suppressed, then they would be finished. Su Yuanming simply told Gu Yuan that it was impossible. The Celestial Alliance people were all watching the show. If they wanted to snipe Lin Fan, that would be impossible. Anyway, Lin Fan was dealing with Buddha Alliance, and Celestial Alliance wouldn't join in. Even if Celestial Alliance and Buddha Alliance seemed like an alliance, that was fake and couldn't be tested at all. Alliance headquarters. Zhu Daoshan's disappearance caused an uproar in the alliance. Many people were curious about where Zhu Daoshan went. Some reporters followed and realized that Zhu Daoshan stayed in his villa. Apart from coming out occasionally, he spent most of his time in the villa. This confused the alliance people. But not long later, as there was no other news, it calmed down and disappeared from their eyes. Wu Zhiga, who was extremely fierce in the past, started to slack off. He rarely participated in alliance headquarters meetings. Outside the balcony of a high-class villa, Hayes, Wu Zhiga stood with his arms behind his back and sighed. He was really worried. General Wu, the situation isn't good for our faction. The one who spoke was Alliance General Xiao Hu. No, it should be Alliance General Xiao Hu. Xiao Hu had successfully broken through to 9-star General, which was Dao Realm. Standing behind Wu Zhiga, he was like a huge mountain. A ferocious aura overflowed. If an ordinary person stood in front of him, their legs would probably tremble. Wu Zhiga nodded his head. The tech division rose up and started a fight for power. Many people supported the tech division, and this placed a lot of pressure on the commander. General Xiao, whose eyes shone brightly, and he said solemnly, "The appearance of star-level energy has raised the tech division too high. In the hearts of the people, the tech division is the best choice." Kiki. Wu Zhiga laughed coldly. A bunch of dumb things. Machines are dead and humans are alive. Relying on these emotionless machines is asking for death. Xiang Yintian is the highest commander of the tech division and hasn't been paid attention to for a long time. Now that he has become famous, his ambition has exploded out. He is just dragging the alliance down with him. Xiao Hu said, "There's one more thing. Based on the intel, Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island are doing something, and it seems like they're going to clean up the alliance. At Ocean Emperor Island, Hell Mountain, these two are a problem. If we don't pay attention, we might suffer a huge loss." Wu Zhiga frowned. He felt that the Alliance headquarters was in a bad situation. They were in a really dangerous situation. If they were not careful, something huge might happen. General Shao, who said, "Based on the news from the people we planted in Hell Mountain, there are a few 9-star generals in our headquarters who have connections with the higher-ups of Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island. There's a high chance that they have betrayed the Alliance headquarters." Wu Zhiga turned his head and said solemnly, "You can't say such things randomly. Guessing without evidence will only make one's heart go cold. Don't worry, we are investigating this matter, but it is too difficult to monitor 9-star generals, and we need some time. I will quietly investigate the truth without attracting attention." Xiao Hu said, "Let me see the list." Wu Zhiga was in a mess. General Xiao Hu took out the list. This was a secret and definitely couldn't be spread out, otherwise it would cause a huge commotion. Wu Zhiga looked at it carefully, and his expression didn't change from the start. But deep down, it caused huge waves. Many of the 9-star generals on the list had important positions in the Alliance headquarters. If they betrayed the Alliance, then all the secrets in the Alliance wouldn't be secrets anymore. They would be stripped off their outer layer of clothing and announced to everyone. Wu Zhiga asked, "Do you think it is trustworthy?" Marshal Xiao Hu said, "It is hard to say, but the intelligence agent placed in Hell Mountain is quite trustworthy. He was extremely useful in quelling the conflict between Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island. If he is not mistaken, then he is basically trustworthy." Wu Zhiga frowned and didn't say anything. Truthfully, he didn't believe it. But the intelligence agent in Hell Mountain had no choice but to believe it. If it was true, then it would be a terrifying blow to the Alliance headquarters. It would even cause the 9-star general's position in the hearts of the people to fall. "Bury this matter in your heart. Apart from me, don't tell anyone else." Wu Zhiga said. "Yes," General Xiao Hu replied. Wu Zhiga waved his hands to tell him that he could leave. He needed some time alone. Although he said that he would be more relaxed in the future and that he didn't want to bother about Alliance matters, to Wu Zhiga, how could he not care about it? The Alliance definitely couldn't fall in the hands of their generation. The prosperity in the past was obtained by them through hard work. How many people died? Who knew how many of them were good brothers that he had known since the college days? If not for those things, Wu Zhiga would have had many friends and brothers, but in the end, all of them died one by one and sacrificed their lives for the Alliance. Thus, after Xiao Hu broke through to Dao Realm, he started to use his power to promote Xiao Hu to a 9-star general and place him in the most important position in the Alliance. As long as there was any news, he would report it to him right away. I hope that all of this is fake. Otherwise, I don't mind washing everything in blood. Wu Zhiga's eyes shone with determination. Even if it was true, he definitely wouldn't let the people find out about it. He would deal with it in secret and not cause any commotion. In Hell Mountain, Zhenming climbed really quickly. He was a higher-up, but because he wanted to take revenge, he grabbed all chances and finally gained the attention of Hell Mountain's leader, Yan Kuan. In the alliance with Ocean Emperor Island, he had an important position. At the same time, he was the one who pushed for the alliance with Yin Yang sect. Or rather, he didn't care about the danger and personally came to meet the Yin Yang sect leader. Kiki, the alliance only has this bit of ability. A spy planted in Hell Mountain. Zhenming had noticed that there were spies in Hell Mountain a long time ago. This was a coincidence. When Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island fought against the alliance, Hell Mountain captured many alliance experts and killed them. At that time, he realized that there was a weird person. When he killed the alliance experts, his hand actually trembled and he even hesitated. He was suspicious then. It was impossible for him to say that it was okay. But he didn't care. He was just a higher-up in Hell Mountain and couldn't care so much. Until today, he thought back to the spy. He suggested to lure the 8 island heads over. Naturally, this matter couldn't be hidden. As long as he was a spy, he would know what he wanted to do. He pretended to make a list and waited for the fish to take the bait. Wasn't that a simple matter? Chapter 533. Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan squinted his eyes. Mu Gang's small hands pinched Lin Fan's leg, while Go Zi waved his fan at the side. Where else could he find such a day? It was just so comfortable. It would be best if those top sects and alliance didn't exist. Suddenly, fluctuations could be felt from afar. Experts had arrived. I didn't expect you to really come. Lin Fan stood up and stretched his neck. He had never been afraid of anyone when it came to fighting. Go Zi was confused. Who came? Someone that the young master valued was definitely not ordinary. Who else could it be? Other than those few, there can't be anyone else. Lin Fan raised his head and looked over. Even though he was far away, he could sense the aura unique to powerful beings from afar. Go Zi wasn't a fool, so how could he not know who young master was talking about? The Water Emperor and the others sensed this aura and frowned. They rose into the air and floated in the air. Wow, so amazing. Are those people from Buddha Alliance going all out? Water Emperor laughed, but he was a little panicked. He wasn't afraid of one-on-one, but he was afraid that they would gang up on him. That would be a little too much. Zhao Lishan said warily, "Be careful. They come with ill intentions. If a battle breaks out, the situation will not be good." Soon, Lin Fan appeared behind them and said, "Don't worry too much. What are you afraid of?" Even though Lin Fan was young, in this group of elders, he was like a big brother. Lin Fan stood in front. Water Emperor and the others stood behind. Not long after, in the distance, several figures were getting closer and closer. Eventually, they stopped when they were a distance away from Lin Fan and the others. I was wondering who it was. So, it is the Buddha Alliance sect leaders. Why are you so free to come to Martial Path Mountain? Are you here to take revenge? Lin Fan smiled and asked. Even if the people in front of him were all Dao Realm Stage 6 and Stage 7 experts, he wasn't afraid at all. In a battle, whoever was afraid would lose. The moment Gyuan saw Lin Fan, for some reason, he hated him so much. Maybe it was because he hated him for so long that it became a habit in his heart. But he still had to pretend. Ha ha ha. Sect leader Lin is joking. We came from afar, so how can we fight? Gu Yuan said. To Buddha Alliance. In the end, Gyuan was the one who brought some sect leaders over to negotiate. It was best if they could just talk about family matters. Lin Fan glanced over. What were these guys thinking? How could he not know? He couldn't even be bothered to argue with them. This person was White Lotus St. Purity Mountain's Gyuan. There were only two sect leaders that he hated the most in the top sections. One was Gyuan, and the other was Guasian Island Su Yuanming. These two people were really disgusting. Thinking back to when he was in Yu City, he and his father were fighting against the four strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, and the two of them just passed by. Not only did they not help, but they even mocked them. He would remember this grudge forever. He would never forget it. Ho ho. So what if you guys are here to fight? Do you think that I, Lin Fan, am afraid of you guys? Lin Fan looked at everyone tyrannically, not giving them any face at all. Gyuan frowned and was really unhappy. How arrogant. Surnamed Lin, don't be too arrogant. The one who spoke was an old man with a single eye and a tyrannical aura. He was the sect leader of the top sect, old ancestor Dao Ling. You blind man, stop talking nonsense. So what if I am arrogant? If you aren't happy, then come at me. Let's see if I don't smash your other eye. Lin Fan stared in rage. To deal with these people, one had to be tough. Water Emperor's heart jumped. As expected from a domineering old brother. Facing so many peak experts, it was normal to be more friendly. But was it really good for him to be so tough? Arrogant. You are infuriating me. Old ancestor Dao Ling was so furious that he nearly jumped up. If not for considering his own situation, he would have really fought Lin Fan to the death. On the other hand, the surrounding experts were extremely indifferent. They acted like this had nothing to do with them, and they didn't care. To them, Lin Fan didn't offend them, and it had nothing to do with them. As for why old ancestor Dao Ling was so strong, naturally that was his problem. Of course, to them, this surnamed Lin was really arrogant. Enough. Gyuan stopped him. Sect leader Lin, I didn't come here to quarrel with you, but to talk about the relationship between Martial Path Mountain and Buddha Alliance. Gyuan suppressed the rage in his heart. If even he was defeated, then a battle was unavoidable. Even if he was confident in making Lin Fan pay a heavy price, they wouldn't be able to gain any benefits. There was even no need for both sides to have conflict. There was no conflict of interest, so why did they have to do that? Lin Fan smiled. Relationship? Martial Path Mountain and your Buddha Alliance aren't on good terms. A while ago, you even had a conflict at Zhao Family Dragon Island. All right, you didn't come that day, right? They pushed the blame to me for the sneak attack. I even suspect whether or not you did it. Damn, Guyuan was furious. F*** King Lin Fan. I came to talk to you nicely, and not only did you not receive me well, you even brought up the past. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. You just didn't want it. Sect Leader Lin really knows how to joke. Some things can't be said so casually. Guyuan was expressionless, but his voice turned cold. One could tell that he was furious just from his voice. What a waste. Lin Fan really couldn't tell. Even if he could, he didn't care much about it. Lin Fan smiled. Right, Guyuan is right. How can there be such a coincidence in the world? Sect leaders, it is hard to say. Sometimes, things are just so coincidental. The one-eyed old ancestor Dao Ling was unhappy. Sect leader Lin, don't use such cheap tricks on us. It won't work. Kiki. When Lin Fan smiled, it felt like he was saying that he was a fool. That smile made one feel really uncomfortable, and it was easy to attract hatred. When old ancestor Dao Ling saw that smile, he clenched his fists. He was a 100-year-old man, and his mentality was really calm. He wouldn't panic no matter what happened. But for some reason, when he saw Lin Fan smile, he felt like he was going to explode. Guyuan said, Sect Leader Lin, our Buddha Alliance won't pursue the matter of you wiping out Wangu Tower. After all, the strong eat the weak, and occupying territory is a normal situation. Buddha Alliance is also willing to admit that Martial Path Mountain is a top sect. From now on, we won't interfere with each other. Your Martial Path Mountain will still be your Martial Path Mountain, and Buddha Alliance won't find trouble with you. After all, to us, internal strife isn't good. It is easy for the Alliance to find a chance. Don't you agree? To Guyuan, the current situation wasn't as stable as he thought. Celestial Alliance and Buddha Alliance were working together, but they weren't as united as they seemed on the surface. Internal strife was common. White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain and Guasian Island were working with the Alliance, but now the Alliance was in chaos. Things were becoming more and more complicated. This was why Guyuan and Su Yuanming discussed in secret. There were two plans. One was to work with the Alliance to slowly wipe out the top sections. The other was to work with the Alliance on the surface, but use the strength of the four alliances to fight against the Alliance. They would be at the back and seize the chance to deal a heavy blow at the most crucial moment. What a perfect strategy. Both plans were perfect. This was why Guyuan didn't want to have an open conflict with Lin Fan. He wanted to play it safe. But looking at the situation, it was obvious that he couldn't. This kid's words were vicious and could easily cause one's mental state to explode. If one's tolerance wasn't high, one wouldn't have been able to take it. Water Emperor snuck to Lin Fan's side and said, This Buddha Alliance really can take it. They can even forget about this and even admit Martial Path Mountain's existence. I really respect them. Water Emperor. When Guyuan saw Water Emperor, he didn't recognize him right away. But after taking a few more looks, he really did. Kiki, I didn't expect that someone would recognize me after so many years of seclusion. Water Emperor was delighted. He had been in seclusion for many years and had left this era. Now that Buddha Alliance's White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain sect leader recognized him, his face lit up. Guyuan said, How can I not recognize you? During the Three-Corpse Land battle, I was just a disciple, but I heard that you fought 3 top sect leaders alone. In the end, you were injured and had to flee. From then on, the world knew of your strength. Why does your words sound so weird? It sounds like you're praising me, but it doesn't feel right. Water Emperor squinted and looked at Guyuan unhappily. Guyuan smiled and didn't say anything. Although Water Emperor was strong, he didn't care about him at all. So what if he lived longer than him? There was a peak in this world, and it was just a matter of time before the later generations caught up to the older generations. Lin Wani was so young, and he was already at the peak of the world. Even people from the older generation, like Water Emperor, didn't dare to compete with him. Lin Fan raised his hand and hoped that Water Emperor would stop talking nonsense. He then looked towards Gyuan. Okay, what you said is true. Martial Path Mountain is indeed independent. As for whether or not we can get along peacefully with Buddha Alliance, that will depend on whether or not Buddha Alliance gives us face in the future. Lin Fan was in deep thought. Since you said that, then he would give you face. He didn't want to attack for now, but when he did, no matter if it was peaceful or not, he would still fight. He definitely wouldn't give them any face. Gyuan looked at Lin Fan, and his heart was like a mirror. Naturally, he knew that this surnamed Lin wouldn't be so easy to talk to. From a start till now, he had been talking nonsense, but this was the effect that he wanted. As long as Lin Fan attacked the Buddha Alliance sects once more, he wanted to see whether or not the Buddha Alliance sect leaders would still be able to sit still and not do anything. He had to pressure them. Only then would they know that it didn't matter whether or not it affected them. It was because Lin Fan wouldn't think that way. If they continued to bear with it, then they would be the ones suffering. Okay, since sect leader Lin agrees, then I won't say anything more. Goodbye. Gyuan cupped his fists. He didn't want to talk nonsense with Lin Fan. He was really afraid that if he stayed here for too long, he wouldn't be able to suppress the rage in his heart and would fight with Lin Fan for 300 rounds. Chapter 534. When the last person, old ancestor Dao Ling of Six Will Ancient Temple, left with an unhappy expression, Lin Fan chuckled. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation didn't allow it, I would have made all of you stay long ago. His killing intent was boiling. Water Emperor was stunned and looked at Lin Fan. He didn't expect Lin Wani's son to have such thoughts. Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin, we need to think about this. If you clash with them today, Martial Path Mountain will be destroyed. Yes, Lin Fan nodded. Not only will Martial Path Mountain be destroyed, but everyone here, apart from me, won't be able to survive. Haze, we are still too weak. Zhao Lishan shook his head regretfully. Facing some Dao Realm Stage 7 experts, they were really helpless. Lin Fan shook his head. It's not that you guys are weak, it's that I'm too weak. I don't have the confidence to suppress all of them. But it's fine. It won't be long before they won't be as relaxed as they are now. Water Emperor didn't understand what Lin Fan meant by those words. It won't take long? What did that mean? Could he break through to Dao Realm Stage 8? Impossible. That was just impossible. Dao Realm Stage 7 was already the peak. Even if there were differences in Stage 7, even the strongest Dao Realm Stage 7 wouldn't be able to fight so many people. Sect Leader Lin, although I trust you, my peak realm is Dao Realm Stage 7. Everyone is at that realm, and it is really difficult to suppress everyone. Water Emperor said. Lin Fan glanced at him, ignorant. This was truly ignorant. Could it be that he didn't know that the sect leader had a small support system on him? That's right, no one knows. The only person present who believed in Lin Fan's words would be the Heaven's Fate Master. He could see the calamities that these Grandmasters were going to face in the future. They were all extremely tragic. Perhaps he could write the word die with blood on it. Where did this kid come from? The divinator thought about it, and waves rose up in his heart. He really wanted to know where Lin Fan came from. If you say he is Lin Wani's son, right? Even his father wasn't as ferocious as him. Perhaps his father was relying on his son. Will he become the first expert to break through to Stage 8? The moment this thought appeared in the divinator's mind, he instantly dispelled it. What a joke. This was something that would never happen. Being called ignorant by Lin Fan, the Water Emperor was infuriated. The Water Emperor was old enough to be your grandfather's father, but he was still so disrespected. How infuriating. But forget it. Who asked you to be so strong? Who asked you to be so smug? Just wait until one day in the future when you need this emperor's help. At that time, you will know how good this emperor is. Now that the matter was settled, Lin Fan didn't have any other thoughts. He returned to Martial Path Mountain to continue his drunken life. He needed to calm the irritable situation down a little. When the situation had calmed down to a certain extent, He would then launch a head-on attack to stun the other party. No matter what, he could also test the other party's endurance. In the distance, the Buddha Alliance people walked forwards. I think all of you have seen how arrogant Martial Path Lin Fan is. Gu Yuan said. Old ancestor Dao Ling raged. Since you know that he is so arrogant, then why didn't you kill him? You slashed it? Gu Yuan asked. Those words made old ancestor Dao Ling speechless. He was furious and wanted to kill Lin Fan, but he didn't have the courage to attack. Gu Yuan took a look and didn't care anymore. His words were like farts. He didn't have the courage to complain. If old ancestor Dao Ling really dared to attack, then he would have to respect him. He looked at everyone's expressions. He didn't say much. He just wanted to wait until one day when they all felt danger. Then they would know what the outcome would be if they didn't do anything. Brother Gu Yuan, are we just going to let him do what he wants? Someone asked. Gu Yuan said, Don't worry, I understand his temper, and he definitely won't stop here. In the future, he will offend even more people. However, there is no choice. All of you could just sit back and watch. Otherwise, with our strength, the outcome will be different. Some sect leaders were helpless, but some sect leaders didn't think that way. I feel that it isn't right. We want to kill him, but with his strength, it will be tough to suppress him. Once he escapes, the outcome will be catastrophic. Before we have absolute confidence in killing him, we should try to negotiate and wait for a good chance. The sect master's words were met with the approval of many people. His words made sense. That was what he thought, and what they all thought too. Gu Yuan cursed in his heart. A bunch of fools. Things had already reached such a stage, and they still wanted to negotiate. Their brains must have been damaged. But he couldn't be too overboard. He looked at them like he was looking at a retard. To prevent himself from suffering any losses, he had to be as cowardly as he could be. Gu Yuan thought that the other sect leaders were too stupid. Actually, they weren't. On the contrary, they were really smart. Now, whoever jumped would be the unlucky one. During the many negotiations, Gu Yuan was the one who appeared. Naturally, he was the top firepower. If a war really broke out, then Gu Yuan would be the unluckiest. And they were all followers, sitting and watching the ups and downs of things. No matter what the outcome was, at least there was a way out. Then, the Buddha Alliance people walked further and further away. In the end, they split up. As for the Wangu Tower matter, they didn't care much about it. They weren't the ones being wiped out, so what was the point of thinking so much? Imperial Dynasty. Since King Wudong went through that random bombing, he became much more well-behaved and didn't dare to head to dangerous places. Although it was said that riches came from danger, he nearly lost his life that time. Your Majesty, the Alliance has calmed down recently. Our chance has come. Zhu Xiang knelt on one knee and reported. Their Imperial Dynasty was really safe. Nothing dangerous happened. The border was mostly destroyed by the Alliance, and that region wasn't suitable for survival. Normal people would definitely die if they entered. Even experts with cultivation had to be careful. The void current wasn't a joke. If one wasn't careful, one would be sucked in and ripped into pieces. This was why the Alliance didn't enter recklessly. I will leave everything to you. King Wudong didn't care much about this matter. He was annoyed, and he felt like something in the depths of his heart was about to jump out. He felt like it wasn't a good thing, so he suppressed it in his heart. This was why when he faced such annoying matters, he suppressed his impatience and told Zhu Xiang to act. Yes, Zhu Xiang knew that His Majesty's situation was weird and didn't dare to ask. He also didn't know how to ask. Other people might not know, but he knew a little. At the same time, King Wudong's body gave off a chilling aura. Zhu Xiang's nose was different from that of normal people, and he could smell things that others couldn't. He didn't ask and pushed the door open. Only King Wudong was left in the room. King Wudong facepalmed. His arms trembled and pain appeared on his face. Outside, General Zhu, please wait. Lu Xin appeared and said. When Zhu Xiang saw him, a look of disgust appeared on his face. Sir Lu, what is the matter? Zhu Xiang didn't have a good impression of Lu Xian, but sometimes he had to thank him. If not for him bringing him out of Yu City and tossing him to dig stones, he wouldn't have achieved what he had today. Lu Xian looked at where King Wudong was and then pulled Zhu Xiang to the side. He said softly, "Recently, I noticed that His Majesty is a little off. Does General Zhu know what happened?" Zhu Xiang smiled. "Sir Lu, why do you say that? We are both His Majesty's subjects. If you care about His Majesty, why don't you personally ask him?" Lu Xian stared blankly for a moment, then sneered. General Zhu must be joking. Who doesn't know that General Zhu is His Majesty's favorite? His Majesty hands everything to General Zhu. How can I be like you, able to see His Majesty whenever I want? Sir Lu, it isn't that you can't, but that you don't dare to. Zhu Xiang glanced, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He cupped his fists. "I have something to do. If Sir Lu has nothing else, you can leave. His Majesty needs to rest." The moment he said this, Zhu Xiang didn't bother about Lu Xian. Under that murderous gaze, he left. "Pooey dog." Lu Xian stared furiously at Zhu Xiang's back view and scolded. Sometimes, he regretted it too much. Why didn't he see through this kid's ambition? He actually allowed him to climb over his head. As for meeting King Wudong alone, he really didn't dare to. There were rumors that a man-eating monster appeared in the imperial dynasty. Although no one personally witnessed it, Lu Xian felt that it had something to do with King Wudong. With what he had done previously, if he made His Majesty unhappy, he would probably die. Recently, he had lost contact with the Alliance headquarters. The Alliance troops at the border had all retreated. He needed new instructions. Unfortunately, he couldn't contact them. "Alliance. Brother Zhu, this is the 12th war criminal. If we bring too many out, even we won't be able to handle it." Wu Zhiga said. He knew what Zhu Daoxuan's granddaughter had become in the manor. She needed to eat people, and she had to eat people with cultivation. Just like a normal person, she ate 3 meals a day. Zhu Daoxuan closed his eyes, and all he could hear was the sound of someone eating in the room next door. "I have no way out," Zhu Daoxuan said calmly. Wu Zhiga said, "How can there be no way out? Why not trust Xiang Yintian? He will definitely be able to find the reason." "Impossible. If I trust him, I will be pushing my granddaughter into a pit of fire." Zhu Daoxuan rejected and then said, "Thank you for finding out this secret and not revealing it. If not, then just act like you don't know anything. In the end, if anything happens, I will take responsibility." Wu Zhiga shook his head. He looked at the room next door and said in a low voice, "Have you ever thought that there might be a problem with this? Or perhaps they're cultivating some unknown thing. After all, the people they eat are war criminals with cultivation. Brother Wu, I am begging you. Please don't linger on this matter. I can't lose anymore, so I am begging you." Zhu Daoxuan said with a hoarse voice, "Even if I am nurturing something unknown, at least she still calls me grandfather, so I have to protect her." Wu Zhiga looked at Zhu Daoxuan. He was hesitant. He was sure that his granddaughter wasn't his granddaughter anymore, and he was nurturing something. But Zhu Daoxuan's current situation made his heart soften. If Zhu Daoxuan interrupted Wu Zhiga and said with a firm gaze, "If that happens, I will personally attack." Chapter 535. Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan spent a period of time here leisurely. It seemed like a storm was brewing, but to him, there wasn't much of a problem. To be more direct, it had nothing to do with him at all. All of them could do whatever they wanted while he led a degenerate life. "Sect leader Lin, didn't I tell you something last time? You didn't want to hear it, but thinking about it, as the sect leader, you should know some secrets." Water Emperor came to Lin Fan's side and said in a sneaky manner. Lin Fan was interested. "What did you say last time? I forgot." "Demons." Water Emperor reminded. "Right, demons. You can tell me what secrets they have." Lin Fan wasn't interested in these secrets, but since he was free, he could listen to them. Although Water Emperor was a useless person, he had lived for so long and naturally knew many secrets. Sometimes it was good to listen to secrets. Who knew? He might face such a thing one day. Water Emperor was pumped up. Today, there are very few demons, even fewer than before the Alliance attacked. Their cultivation is really weak, and the strongest is only God Essence Realm. Grandmaster is already the top, but Sect Leader definitely knows about the demon specialty. right? That doesn't seem like something a weak race should have. Lin Fan nodded his head and agreed with Water Emperor. That was indeed the case. Demons didn't seem like a trash race. Although they had weaknesses, normal people didn't have the ability to target this weakness. They were afraid of strong cultivation techniques. But demons came and went without a trace. No matter how one looked at it, they looked like a high-level race. But why were their cultivations so weak? Then, what secret do you want to tell me? Lin Fan asked. Water Emperor thought about it and said solemnly, based on what I know, there is a seal in the center of the ocean eye. The stone steels around record that demons are sealed here. I think that the demon's true expert or race is beneath the eye. The demons that live here might just be outsiders. The most important thing isn't the demon race, but the Tao Realm Stage 8 who blocked everyone. Lin Fan was stunned. He was stunned by Water Emperor's words. He really didn't expect that Water Emperor was so good at bullsh asterisk. He was actually able to obtain Tao Realm Stage 8 secrets from the demon. Water Emperor said solemnly, "Do not believe me. Tao Realm Stage 7 focuses on the yin-yang and 5 elements. But if the demons are a part of our lives, then they are one of them. If their Tao isn't complete, then naturally they won't be able to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. Lin Fan was surprised. You actually managed to make some sense out of it. Water Emperor said, Sect leader, this isn't bullsh asterisk T. There is a basis and it makes sense. Kiki, then let me ask you, what did you come to that conclusion based on? Lin Fan's head hurt. He felt like he was about to ascend to the heavens after being pulled by Water Emperor. Don't worry about how I got it. Why did I leave the Imperial Dynasty and cultivate for so many years? Did Sect Leader really think that I wanted a farm? Wrong. That's a big mistake. I only came to this conclusion after discovering the sea I steal by chance and studying it for decades. Water Emperor was delighted. He felt that he had discovered the truth of the world. However, the last time he told Lin Wani, that fellow actually didn't think about it. Lin Fan looked at Water Emperor. Decades of research, and you only came to one conclusion? You didn't participate in it? Did you get a concrete result? I don't dare to. Water Emperor replied decisively. To break the seal means to release the demons. Although I have some strength and am really strong, it isn't enough to face the demon race. Oh. So you're saying that along with me, it is enough. Why are you so vicious? You can't think of anything good and only think of me when something bad happens. Lin Fan scolded. Water Emperor's words had some degree of credibility. However, the crux of the matter was how credible it was. That was the crux of the matter. Now that he thought about it, the demons shouldn't be so normal. Water Emperor revealed a sad expression and tried to explain himself. Sect leader, that is a little too much. I'm a Marshall Path Mountain member, and I will die a Marshall Path Mountain ghost. How can I do such a thing? It is all because the Alliance and the 4 alliances are too arrogant. If there really is a demon race, then we can release them to share our burden. At the same time, we can also break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, so why not? In the end, it was because Water Emperor wanted to become a Tao Realm Stage 8 expert. Although he wasn't sure whether or not he could break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, but he still wanted to try. Naturally, Lin Fan wasn't interested in Tao Realm Stage 8. He had a small support system, and he didn't rely on those so-called great Tao cultivators to break through. If he relied on the small support system to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, then wouldn't he be able to bully those kids who couldn't? Okay, let's not rush this matter. Lin Fan said. He would wait until the time came, and when he really couldn't break through, then he would think of a way. As for now, naturally, he didn't care much about it. Water Emperor sighed regretfully. Hey's such a good chance. It is such a waste to miss it just like that. He looked at Lin Fan with a gaze that shone like stars, like he wanted to tell Sect Leader to give him face and try. If it was true, then wouldn't it feel great? But what welcomed him was Lin Fan's merciless rejection. What is there to feel pity about? What if the demon race has a bunch of Tao Realm Stage 8 experts? Fight them head-on? Lin Fan asked. Needless to say, he was most afraid of this kind of situation. Water Emperor was speechless and didn't know what to retort. Lin Fan waved his hands and told Water Emperor to play at the side. He was prepared to bring 9 Demon out to see what the situation was like. If his strength allowed him, he wanted to mock some sects to accumulate rage points. He would raise his cultivation to Dao Realm Stage 5. Let's see whether or not he could destroy Dao Realm Stage 7 experts. If he could destroy someone at Dao Realm Stage 7, then there was no need to talk about it. He would just wipe them out. He didn't care whether or not they had grievances. What he wanted was for there to be no sects in the world, and only Martial Path Mountain existed. 9 Demon, let's go. In the distance, 9 Demon was lying there resting. When it heard its master's voice, its 9 heads shook quickly. It ran over and jumped on a Lin Fan's shoulder. It was on a head out to roam the world again. It was always so happy. Martial Path Mountain was really strong now. There were many people. There were many experts too. With Water Emperor, a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert, it was enough. As long as they didn't ask to die, nothing would happen. Moreover, Zhang Tianqian's attainments and formations were not bad. Although he couldn't block Dao Realm Stage 7 experts, he could ensure the safety of Martial Path Mountain. That night, there was a sizzling sound. That was the sound of wood burning. There was a wild boar on top of the fire. If Zhu Shan followed him out, naturally, he wouldn't roast the wild boar. No matter what was going on with Zhu Shan, he had to pay attention to his senses. 9 Demon, if you want to eat, then wait. The meat isn't cooked yet, and your 9 heads are all over the fire. It is a little tough. Of course, you can do it, but can you stop drooling? Lin Fan was in a tough spot. 9 Demon's 9 heads were hanging on the meat and drooling. Damn, he didn't know why 9 Demon was so mischievous. 9 Demon retracted its head, but its 18 eyes were shining brightly. It didn't want to look away. Lin Fan smiled. He split the roasted meat and tossed it to 9 Demon. To 9 Demon, its stomach might have been small, but it was terrifyingly huge. 1 wild boar wasn't enough. Lin Fan looked forwards. It was pitch black, and one couldn't even see their fingers. If one listened carefully, one could hear the cries of beasts. After a long while, a wild boar skeleton was tossed to the side. 9 Demons' 9 heads surrounded it and would occasionally lick it. It really tasted good. I followed you all the way. Even if you aren't tired, I am. Come out, stop hiding. Lin Fan said. Since he left Martial Path Mountain, he noticed that someone was following him, but he didn't care much about it. For him to be noticed meant that the person was weak. To hide in front of him, one had to be too weak. With a kacha, a person walked out from the darkness. He didn't hide and didn't even avoid the branches on the ground. He just stepped on them. Young Master Lin, do you remember me? Zhenming opened his mouth. Slowly, the light shone on his face. 9 Demon looked at Zhenming warily. Lin Fan touched its head and told it not to be nervous. He didn't care much about such a person. Kiki, you look familiar, but I don't feel familiar. Lin Fan said. Zhenming wasn't angry. I am Hell Mountain's Zhenming. We met once at the border and fought once. Thinking about it, we haven't met in months, so it is normal that you don't remember me. Lin Fan wasn't in a rush to attack. Oh, so you are from Hell Mountain. If I remember correctly, you should be from the Alliance. Why? Are you prepared to kill me alone? But I have to say that your strength isn't enough. Young Master Lin, I didn't come to fight you, but to work with you. Zhenming said. Lin Fan looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. What do you have to work with me? Strength? Status? With your strength, I can suppress you with a flip of my hand. As for status, do you think you can make decisions in Hell Mountain? Young Master Lin, I don't have either of those, but please believe me. I'm not working with you for anything. I just want revenge. I can help you deal with the Alliance, Ocean Emperor Island, and even Hell Mountain. Zhenming's expression was solemn, and it didn't look like he was joking. Instantly, Lin Fan was interested. He really didn't expect that Zhenming would actually think about finding him. Moreover, he was alone. With Zhenming's current cultivation, he really didn't care about him at all. As for the revenge he mentioned, he felt like it really was true. That vengeful gaze couldn't lie to anyone. Chapter 536. You are telling me all this, and you trust me so much. Lin Fan felt that he did have a lot of charm, but it shouldn't be that strong for guys, right? Moreover, Zhen Ming was from Hell Mountain. Speaking of which, he was an enemy. Now, such an enemy had come to find him and wanted to work with him to deal with the alliance. Such high expectations were something that he couldn't understand. He had no idea what he was thinking. Zhen Ming said, I didn't believe you at the start, but I investigated you and found out everything about you. Only then did I confirm that you are a trustworthy person, more trustworthy than those people from the alliance. For some reason, when Lin Fan heard these words, he felt like his personality had risen. Was that the feeling of being trusted? No, it was because his taste was good and he was recognized by everyone. How could Lin Fan be moved by just a few words? Even if you believe me, I don't dare to believe you. He had always liked to fight alone and fight alone. Now that someone wanted to work with him, things were a little interesting. Lin Fan was someone who liked to gossip and listen to other people's stories. Okay, I will give you a chance. As someone from Hell Mountain, you want to work with me, who you call a native, to take revenge. Then, tell me honestly why. If I feel that you are lying, not only will I not work with you, but I will also kill you right now. Right now, he was giving the other party some hope, to make him feel that as long as he spoke the truth, he would be able to work with him. To Zhen Ming, when he thought back to those things, he felt pained, and his expression was really unbearable. He didn't want to think back, but to recruit him and form a working relationship with him. Even if he didn't want to think back, he had to. During this period of time, he contacted Ocean Emperor Island and Yin Yang sect to work with them to deal with the alliance. But that wasn't enough. That was because they didn't really want to fight the alliance, but because of benefits. Zhen Ming raised his head, and his eyes shone with a reminiscing expression. He said slowly, this matter started from a few months ago. At that time, a long and melodramatic story happened. Lin Fan listened on with great interest. To be able to hear such a pure and touching story in this world that didn't have any revenge dramas was really rare. Nine Demon raised its 9 heads and looked on in a daze. He didn't know what this fellow was talking about, but as he spoke, he was able to stir up emotions. How amazing. Very soon, Zhen Ming didn't hide anything and told Lin Fan everything. He clenched his fists, and an unwilling and vicious expression appeared on his face. He wanted revenge, and there was even a bit of regret hidden in his eyes. If Lin Fan had to explain what his regret was, it would be that Zhen Ming was a man. After being rejected, he didn't accept it and instead hid in the forest. If he had acted as a bootlicker and followed beside her back then, perhaps such a thing would not have happened. That was basically what it meant. Sai, this is really a sad experience that makes the listener cry. I really understand you. What else could Lin Fan say? Can't you see how uncomfortable I am? Even if they were enemies, it was necessary to say some words of comfort when encountering such a situation. Right now, he needed sympathy and understanding from others. If he wanted to vent the sadness in his heart, he needed a way. And Lin Fan was willing to be the good guy for free. Of course, he was thinking, what if this was nunnery? He had never heard of such a sect. If they were really willing to fight against the alliance, logically speaking, they should have appeared at the border. Sects like Danxia Island. They weren't top sects and weren't that strong. But when the alliance invaded, their entire sect came. As for the outcome, he asked, but no one knew. Maybe she died, maybe she didn't, but she definitely wasn't in a good state. Lin Fan consoled. You saw her one last time, right? Zhen Ming shook his head. No, I didn't even see her one last time. She was too dumb. With her strength, how could she be the alliance's match? Lin Fan consoled him and generously gave him a poem. What is love in the world? It makes one live and die for it. When Zhen Ming heard that, he couldn't help but cry. His heart hurt. Lin Fan asked a few questions, and one could come to a conclusion. This fellow was played, right? Logically speaking, that shouldn't have happened. The sect leader didn't die, and only the disciple died. That was a really inappropriate story. But looking at Zhen Ming's pained expression, he didn't want to say anything more. Sadness was the motivation for revenge. The sect leader wanted to deal with the alliance. Since they came, then it wasn't a problem for them to work together. Yeah, that is indeed the case. Since that is the case, then let's work together. I think with your position in the Alliance, it should be easy for you to get information. Lin Fan said. Zhen Ming nodded. Thank you. I will remember your kindness. I swear to the heavens that from now on, I will only deal with the Alliance and won't do anything inappropriate to all of you. Lin Fan believed Zhen Ming's words. Actually, it didn't matter whether he believed it or not. As for the specific situation, it didn't have much to do with him. He still needed Zhen Ming to provide intel for some things. He just needed to choose some useful ones based on the intel. Love was just so noble, but there was a high chance that Zhen Ming was conned. Of course, he couldn't point that out. If it was really as he thought, then how cruel would it be? Just thinking about it terrified him. Lin Fan said, since we were working together, then sit. Zhen Ming adjusted his emotions. He was prepared for this trip. Even if he was killed in the end, he wouldn't regret it. He thought that after integrating Ocean Emperor Island, Hell Mountain, and Yin Sect, he would be able to attack the Alliance. But he slowly realized that things weren't as he thought. No one was a fool. He was the only smart person. Without seeing a good chance, they wouldn't act rashly. Other people could wait, but he didn't. He just wanted to make the Alliance pay the price. Zhen Ming said, Young Master Lin, the Alliance and some sects in the four alliances are working together. At the same time, there are people planted by the Alliance in the four alliances who have reached really high positions. Some are even sect leaders. Naturally, Lin Fan knew that the four alliances worked with the Alliance. For example, there was a high chance that White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain did. But to talk about someone from the Alliance becoming a sect leader, he was a little shocked. Damn, there were so many talents in the Alliance headquarters. Are you sure about that? Lin Fan asked. Zhen Ming said, It is true. We have to start from decades ago. The Alliance was unable to take down this place, so they arranged for many people to sneak in and join the sects here. But as a long time has passed, they scattered. As for who they are, we don't know. Maybe we will only know when they show themselves. Lin Fan thought about it. If that was the case, then he had to be careful in the future. Lin Fan and Zhen Ming chatted for a long time and asked about the Alliance. So, there really was a small commotion over there. There were internal battles, and also Hell Mountain, Ocean Emperor Island, and Yin Sect working together. These were all huge matters. It was a little messy. He needed to fix it. Zhen Ming couldn't meet Lin Fan for too long. After deciding on a method to contact him, he left. Lin Fan looked at Zhen Ming leave and shook his head. He felt really helpless. He didn't feel any pressure at all, but he just had to find some for himself. What was so good about women? He even chased women. That was just so boring. Thinking about it, he felt really blessed. Father had arranged everything for him. Once he had enough fun outside, he would fulfill his father's wish and find a good man to marry. As for now, in that case, it was better to have some fun. At that moment, Lin Fan noticed that 9 demons' 9 heads were still looking into the distance like it was paying attention to the person who left. He patted its head. What are you looking at? Do you understand what he said? How would 9 demon understand what that fellow was saying? He just felt that he was amazing. He could even cry when he spoke. He had never seen such a thing before and just took a few more glances. Rest for a while. We will continue on our way tomorrow. Lin Fan laid there and looked at the stars in the sky. He was enjoying himself. Insect Valley. Did he leave? The old man asked. Technique Teaching Hall Elder Zhuo Lai said. He left. He didn't understand. Valley Head. Why did you allow Monster Emperor to do whatever he wanted in Insect Valley? The secret hiding pavilion is an important place, and even normal elders can't enter. He came to Insect Valley and wanted to take a look at the secrets. That has already attracted a lot of criticism. Zhuo Lai hated Monster Emperor. He was a disciple who wasn't considered an Insect Valley disciple and was just a test subject. Now, he came to Insect Valley and looked at whatever he wanted. That made him really annoyed. Valley Head said, Zhuo Lai, haven't you noticed? We have succeeded with Monster Emperor. His growth has exceeded our expectations. Lin Wani was publicly recognized as the person who improved the fastest. But now, how is Monster Emperor's cultivation compared to Lin Wani's? There is a huge difference, but he is still a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert. Zhualai said. Valley Head smiled. Right? There's a huge difference, but he is already a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert. He took something from a 9-demon mother's body and changed a long time ago. Everything is still under control. He probably came to find a way to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. Zhualai found it weird. Valley Head, your guess is really accurate. Monster Emperor came to find a Tao Realm Stage 8 technique, but does Insect Valley really have it? Isn't this the legendary realm that has completely disappeared? Valley Head said, yes, Monster Emperor can find it, but I'm really curious. What has Monster Emperor been through during this period of time? How could Insect Valley close down because of someone's death? That was just a reason that the world heard. Even if the Alliance attacked, it wasn't an important matter for Insect Valley. What they wanted was far away. How could others understand that? Chapter 537. Lin Fan's goal was simple, which was to go with the flow. If he faced a sect, they wouldn't do anything extreme to him. At most, they would say something extreme. As for which sect he would find, that would depend on his luck. Anyway, he wasn't afraid of offending people. He was someone who survived from defending a city. Logically speaking, he wouldn't have any good feelings towards those sects, so he didn't have to feel any burden at all. A human and an insect happily walked on the small path. They looked at the scenery around and breathed in the fresh air. They were really carefree and had no worries at all. He had already grown to the top of the food chain, so naturally, there wasn't much danger. It wasn't like before, when he had to be careful when he went out to train. Now, to say something really bad, if anyone had the guts to try and stop him, he would definitely smash their heads. Suddenly, movement spread out from around. Stop right there. Hand over all the valuables on you. A few guys held blades and jumped down from such a high place. When their feet landed, they left 2 deep footprints on the ground. From these small details, it could be seen that the robbers were all people with cultivations. Lin Fan raised his head and looked at them calmly. 9 demons, 18 eyes blinked as well. To Lin Fan, it looked really dumb. But to these robbers, it didn't seem like that at all. Big brother, this monster is a little scary. Pung, pung, pung. In the distance, a person slowly walked into the distance. 9 demons stood on Lin Fan's shoulder leisurely. Everything that happened just now happened at the last minute, although it was just a small matter. But to Lin Fan, he felt a little bad. They didn't give him any face at all, jumping in front of him for no reason and saying such overbearing words. Thus, behind him, several headless corpses laid there quietly. He said what Lin Fan wanted to do: explode their heads. Haze, a pair of evil hands that are covered in blood. Lin Fan looked at his hands and felt that they weren't pure anymore. As expected, after going through the baptism of society, one would become like this. Thinking back to when he was in U City, not to mention blood, he didn't even need to do anything to kill a chicken. But now, forget it. Don't mention it. Just thinking about it made him feel bad. His good days had turned into this. This was all the Alliance's fault. If they hadn't invaded this place, such a thing wouldn't have happened. A few days later, this period of time that Lin Fan had been out was just like any other normal day for all the powers out there. There were no ripples at all, and they were just living their lives as they should be without any impact at all. As for the Alliance, naturally, there was no movement. It was impossible to figure out anything in a short period of time. Furthermore, the internal conflict over power within the Alliance seemed to be calm, but only the people involved knew how vicious the battle was. As for what happened here, the Alliance couldn't care much about it. On this day, Lin Fan met some people. They were all young men and women. To put it simply, the men were handsome and the women were beautiful. They were all proud existences. After all, they were all disciples of great sects, and even the weakest among them were from mid-tier sects and above. As for how they got to know each other, there was a reason. When he passed by a place, he thought it was very safe. However, he didn't expect that there would really be some blind, demonic beasts blocking his way. These demonic beasts had accidentally eaten some natural treasures and had some cultivation. They thought that they were invincible in the world. Naturally, Lin Fan didn't care about them at all. With a few swipes, he killed all of them. Coincidentally, this scene was witnessed by those young people. As prideful people, they would usually not want to get acquainted with people of the same age as them, especially those without any backing. Initially, they had just wanted to take a look and forget about it. But after witnessing Lin Fan's move, they were all stunned. Amazing? He was just too amazing. Lin Fan looked at these young kids and knew right away that they were all Celestial Alliance sect disciples. He wanted to suppress them, but who knew that they would bump into him and ask him about something that interested him? Brother, are you going to participate in the Celestial Alliance Top 10 Disciple Selection? To Lin Fan, it wasn't that this event was attractive, but that these words made him feel the socialization and energy that young people should have. He didn't like what he was facing now. He was so young, and he was shouldering a burden that others couldn't in their entire lives. Martial Path Mountain sect leader, wiping out top sects, fighting with Alliance 9-star generals, etc. How shocking were these things? They were filled with danger and uneasiness. They weren't things that a young man like him should be facing. This was why he smiled and replied right away. Yes. Although he didn't know where he was participating in this event, as long as he followed them, it would be fine. 5 guys and 3 girls. The guy who spoke was called Su Jing, Fallen Celestial Sect disciple. This Fallen Celestial Sect wasn't a top sect, but it was above mid-tier and was just a step away from being a top sect. Lin Fan felt that he was really famous, but these young people didn't know him. This made Lin Fan feel that his name was spread among the higher-ups of the top sects, and normal people didn't even know who he was. Today, Lin Fan told them that his name was Lin Xiaofan. It was just one more word. The competition that he was about to participate in was the competition that Celestial Alliance held every 3 years. Before Celestial Alliance was formed, naturally there was no such thing as Celestial Alliance. But those sects were really familiar with one another and treated Shidao sect and the others as evil sections. Naturally, they wouldn't get along. Such a competition was to choose the top geniuses of the younger generation and obtain rewards. The rewards were all treasures that the top 10 sects took out. There were pills, heavenly treasures, peerless manuals, and so on. Su Jing's cultivation had reached Middle Grandmaster. To be low profile, Lin Fan said that he was initial Grandmaster. It wasn't high nor low, it was just nice. That night, Lin Fan sat there while the others surrounded the fire, barbecuing things and talking to one another. Senior brother Lin, this is for you. At that moment, a girl walked over. This girl was a female sect disciple. Her cultivation was decent, and she was at Master Realm. Lin Fan realized that when she looked at him, her gaze was a little off. Thank you, junior sister Zhou. Lin Fan took the barbecued meat and smiled warmly. Zhou Rua's face flushed red, and she left in embarrassment. As for the people sitting around, they started to laugh, and it felt like they were making a ruckus. As expected, outstanding men, no matter where they are always very popular. No matter whether they believed it or not, Lin Fan felt that he was outstanding. Lin Fan didn't want to get close to her, as there was no need. Anyway, the outcome would be the same, which was to be suppressed by him. All the disciples of the 4 alliances would end up like that. As for this little girl's love for him, that was not a reason that could be ignored. Haze. Suddenly, Su Jing sighed. The situation isn't clear. Who knows what the sects are thinking? Even at such a time, they are still thinking about internal strife. Senior brother Su is right. The alliance is staring at us aggressively, and now the sect have formed 4 alliances. We don't even know if the seniors at the border are dead or alive. If I was the sect leader, why would I do such useless things? I would lead the sect to join the border and force the alliance to retreat. Unfortunately, it is too late. I heard people say that there was a huge battle at the border. It was really terrifying and many people died because of the alliance. Truthfully, this is the decision of the sect leader and the elders. Even if we have thoughts, it is useless. Only by cultivating hard will we have the right to speak in the future. Lin Fan didn't expect that these people would actually be discussing the alliance battle here. He was really interested. We are all sect disciples, So why should we care so much? As long as the sect exists, it is okay. Lin Fan said. Su Jing said, Brother Lin's words are wrong. The premise of a sect's existence is to build on our territory and not be invaded by enemies. If the Alliance occupies our territory, they will slowly eat us up. Defending the sect is just a joke. He thought about something. He smiled. Brother Lin, don't blame me. Maybe your sect has its own way. What I said was just my personal thoughts. Su Jing wasn't the only one who said those words. Many of the senior and junior brothers around him had the same thought. They weren't born into sects, and they all wanted to find sects that were suitable for them. But the sect forbade them from discussing such things. Cultivating was the only choice. This was why they discussed more privately and talked about those secrets that they didn't know much about. Lin Fan smiled. It is okay. I think that all of you are right. If the sects worked with the border defense, then the Alliance wouldn't even exist. Su Jing didn't say anything. He just nodded his head and agreed with Lin Fan's words. Someone else said, Brother Lin is right. There really isn't anything to do with the Alliance. No matter how we fight, it is our own problem and it has nothing to do with outsiders. Okay, let's not talk about this. Let's talk about something else. Su Jing interrupted and reminded everyone not to speak nonsense. Although Lin Xiaofan seemed like a good person, they had only known him for a few hours and didn't know much about him. If this spread to the sect, they would definitely be punished. They weren't fools and obviously understood what Su Jing meant. They stopped talking about this topic. Lin Fan smiled. How could he not understand what they were saying? However, this short exchange had caused Lin Fan's heart to waver slightly. When he wiped out sects, he wiped them all out. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person and was just annoyed with the sect's actions. But from the looks of it now, perhaps some of the ordinary disciples had their own thoughts in their hearts. However, their words carried little weight, and they had no status in the sect. Even if they had their own thoughts, what could they do? They could only be manipulated and controlled by the sect. It seemed like he had to pay attention in the future. Chapter 538. We are here. That is Guasian Island. Top sects are indeed top sections. It's really like a paradise on Earth. It's like I've come to a dream. The Celestial Alliance Elite Disciple Competition was held at Guasian Island. Lin Fan raised his head and smiled. He didn't expect his final destination to be Guasian Island. It felt good. At that moment, many people passed by. The sect elders led them towards Guasian Island. They had come to participate in the tournament full of expectations, hoping to obtain a satisfactory ranking in this tournament. Whether or not they could get in the top 10 wasn't important. What was important was that they participated. If they were lucky and accidentally got in the top 10, naturally, their relationship would be even better. Su Jing saw that Lin Fan was stunned and thought that he was shocked by the crowd. He smiled. Brother Lin, this is just the beginning. There are many more who haven't arrived. When the time comes, it will be a true sea of people. Lin Fan smiled. It is indeed shocking. Let's go. Let's head to register. The venue is Guasian Island, and they will arrange a place for us to stay. Su Jing said. Even for him, this was the first time he came to Guasian Island. The scenery around was as beautiful as a painting. There were many mountains and white clouds wrapped around it. It was a really beautiful place. Lin Fan was on the verge of collapse. Damn, why was Guasian Island's environment so beautiful? He thought that Marshall Path Mountain was decent, but compared to this place, the gap was huge. He wanted it. He really wanted to occupy this place. As long as one had a dream, then it would definitely come true. Lin Fan mixed in the crowd and didn't stand out at all. There were too many people, so who would pay attention to this place? Very quickly, Lin Fan followed Su Jing to complete the registration and was given a courtyard. Guasian Island did have many houses. So many people appeared, and they didn't feel pressured at all. They were all settled down. But those Guasian Island disciples were arrogant and didn't care about anyone. It was obvious that as disciples of top sects, their standards were much higher. They didn't care about the people who came to participate at all. Of course, when other top sect disciples came to register, there were higher-level disciples to receive them. They could only receive disciples from mid-tier sects and normal sections. As for ordinary sects, they didn't even put them in their eyes. In the past, these people had either come to participate in the grand competition or to eat, drink, and see the world. Guasian Island had top disciples, and they all had their own factions. Each of them controlled the land. Many disciples who came to participate in the competition would pay a visit. Naturally, Su Jing was no exception. He went to visit the Guasian Island disciples. To Lin Fan, there was no need. Why would he visit them? They were just a bunch of kids playing around, and he was not interested. Su Jing told him many times that it was necessary to socialize. In the future, when he headed out, knowing more people would give him more protection. Such a saying was only suitable for the young. To someone like Lin Fan, it was completely unnecessary. Inside the house, Lin Fan was thinking about what he should do to earn a wave of rage points. According to his original plan, it should have been a big mess. But after experiencing Su Jing and the others, his thoughts changed. If there was chaos, many people would die. Some of them weren't like the sect leaders of those sections. Forget it. It was better to be safe and just use words to insult them. To be able to participate in such an event that only young people could participate in, he felt that his body was still young. His mentality was that of a young person. Based on his thoughts, if he wasn't so strong, the story would have been like this. In the eyes of numerous geniuses, he was someone who couldn't possibly get first. Under everyone's shocked gazes, he would suppress the geniuses who had hopes of getting first. Then, he would receive envious gazes and walk to the peak of his life. He would receive attention from the older generation and be taken in as a disciple. From then on, he would have a backer, and he would be able to do whatever he wanted. He would be able to do whatever he wanted, and he would be able to get beauties. But he was just thinking about it. Reality was often not like that. Such a competition was just so pointless, and there was no fun at all. Even if he went up, he would just be bullying a bunch of kids. If other people knew about his thoughts, those geniuses would probably spit out blood. How old are you to actually say such arrogant words? If they knew who Lin Fan was, they wouldn't have such thoughts. Not long later, Lin Fan stayed in the room and heard voices from outside. It wasn't Su Jing's voice, but someone else's. He was scolding, and it seemed like the visit didn't go well. One could understand just by thinking about it. Guasian Island was a top sect, and you went to visit their genius disciple. With your status in other mid-tier sects, you would be able to do so, but here, you weren't. At that moment, Zhou Ruo's voice spread in from outside. Senior brother Lin, why don't you come out and take a look? Guasian Island is really beautiful and lively. Lin Fan opened the door and replied, I'm a little tired and want to rest. All right, I heard someone grumbling that it didn't go well. Zhou Ruo nodded. It didn't go well at all. I didn't expect them to be so arrogant. Although we met, they were so aggressive. We just left. To Lin Fan, this was a normal situation. With their status, naturally, they weren't on the same level as these people. There was no conflict. Lin Fan asked. Zhou Ruo shook her head. No. Senior brother Su saw that we weren't welcomed, so he left. But senior brother Lin, you don't know how those Guasian Island disciples looked at us like they were looking at ants. Moreover, there were other top sect disciples who mocked us. They said that us mid-tier sect disciples dared to come and try to get close to them. That was just so embarrassing. Lin Fan felt that the competition tomorrow would become much more intense. The two of them chatted for a while. Zhou Ruo saw that Lin Fan was really tired, so she left. Lin Fan was thinking about such things. It was easy for him to be in the limelight, but it was different from what he thought. How could he let such a small matter spoil things? He didn't like to act cool, just like them, if he followed them. When encountering such a situation, when everyone's sense of helplessness had reached its peak, the one who stood out bravely and violently beat them up would naturally become famous in an instant and even win the admiration of others. But the outcome would be that his identity would be exposed. If he beat up a genius disciple on Guasian Island's territory, the higher-ups would definitely ask about it. When that happened, his identity would be exposed, and he wouldn't be able to earn more rage points. This was why it was better to be safe. He would wait for the best time tomorrow to explode out. Another room. Su Jing calmed everyone down. Don't be angry. This is just a small bump in life. It isn't much. Senior Brother Su, we all understand what you said. But he is a bully and we can't take this lying down. So what if we can't swallow it? He is the top disciple of Guasian Island, a top sect disciple. Even if our sect finds out, they won't help us. They might even ask us to apologize. Aren't your words just boosting his ego and lowering our own? Everyone complained at the same time, feeling very dissatisfied in their hearts. But so what? With their strength, even if Lin Fan taught them a lesson, they would have to swallow the rage. Hayes, Lin Xiaofan has foresight. Senior brother, Su told him to go, but he didn't. If he knew that this would happen, even if you beat me to death, I wouldn't have gone to suffer. Lin Fan, who was in a daze in the room, actually became their target of envy. One had to say that charismatic people were just so overbearing. Su Jing said, "Okay, it is already in the past, so why bother about it? No matter whether or not he respects us, we will prove ourselves on the arena tomorrow." Right, Senior Brother Su's words make sense. Within the room, Lin Fan thought about a good idea. Since he used the bug-controlling technique to move things in U-City, he hadn't tried it again. Now that he thought about it, he really missed it. Tomorrow, he would shock everyone and fight with a peak expert. At that time, he would have to leave and only gain a bit of rage points. That wasn't what he wanted. If we are careful, we shouldn't be noticed. At that moment, Lin Fan used the bug-controlling technique. The gray Dao essence slowly spread out and covered the bugs in the courtyard. Under the moonlight, a shocking change occurred. Their bodies became bigger and their shells became harder and brighter. They didn't cause any commotion at all as they slowly crawled into the distance. Lin Fan stayed in the room, but he could see what was happening outside. These bugs were his eyes, and he could see everything. He had never come to Guasian Island before and didn't know where Guasian Island hid things. He could only search slowly. A bunch of small and unassuming bugs spread out and searched all over Guasian Island. Based on Lin Fan's guesses, any sect's treasure would be in the direction of the main hall. As long as he searched in that direction, he would definitely be able to find it. Not long later, behind the main hall, a building that looked extraordinary appeared in front of him. It seemed like this was the place he was looking for. Just as Lin Fan was rejoicing in his heart, he felt an aura enveloping him. He panicked. That can't be. Which fellow was so strong? His senses were actually so strong to be able to notice this. Calm down, he had to calm down. Using the sight of the bugs, a person appeared in the darkness. That person looked around and frowned like he was searching for something. Strange. Could it have been an illusion just now? The old man was confused. Just now, he felt a weak energy fluctuation and thought that someone was bold enough to come here. But looking at the situation, there was no one around. The old man shook his head and disappeared into the darkness. Who? I was nearly noticed. Lin Fan was terrified. Chapter 539. Initially, he had really underestimated these top sections. However, what happened today forced him to look up to the other party. They had some ability to be able to sense something when controlling such a small bug. One could only say that they were really amazing. However, sensing was just sensing. They were far from being noticed. After such a situation, Lin Fan controlled the bug more and more carefully. He didn't dare to be too intense in case he attracted more attention. The bug slowly crawled into the room. It wasn't too bright inside and was slightly dark. The room was filled with the aura of an expert. If someone entered, they would have been noticed right away. At that moment, with the help of the bug's eyes, Lin Fan discovered that there was another door in the house. This door looked extraordinary, and it didn't look like it could be opened by an ordinary person. There were no gaps around it, and it was impossible to enter through the gap. As for a real person to forcefully open it, that was even more impossible. The moment he opened the door, all the expert from Guasian Island would be attracted over. Hayes, what a helpless thing. It seems like I have to dig another hole. Lin Fan was annoyed, but what could he do? He had nothing to do and wanted to gain something. so he could only dig a hole. He cut off his connection with the bug, and there was no need for it to come out. He controlled the other bugs to circle the room and get further away. He ordered them to dig holes. Bugs that were mutated by special Tao essence were really talented in digging holes. After a period of time, when the first bug broke the last layer of the ground, it finally entered the room behind the door. Lin Fan looked around and felt much better. But shortly after, he realized that something wasn't right. The problem in the room wasn't small, and it wasn't as simple as he thought. There was a lot of white smoke dancing in the room. It seemed like it had a mind of its own as it patrolled the area. These things looked more like ghosts. He had never seen one before. Maybe it was a special product of Guasian Island. If he didn't enter from the main door, even if he dug a hole, he would cause a commotion and attract experts over. I can't give up. Lin Fan thought about it. In the end, his greed made him lose himself. He controlled a bug to crawl in front of the white spirit to see whether or not it would attract its attention. It was really overbearing. The white spirit was also a person with a disdainful gaze. It completely ignored the little bug that was flaunting its prowess below it. It seemed like it was too weak and it didn't care at all. Or rather, it was a question of whether the other party had seen it or not. The surrounding treasures were placed in rows of grids. As a top sect, Guasian Island's treasures were naturally extraordinary. Other sects couldn't compare to them. When he moved the Wangu Tower, he realized this theory. Even if the building was damaged, he could find an unimaginable amount of treasures. However, he had no interest in these treasures. If he sent it back, it would be for others to use, so Water Emperor and the others would feel good for nothing. Start with the small items. A medicinal pill was placed on a crystal-like object. The crystal emitted white steam, making the medicinal pill look like an immortal pill. An insect crawled up and lifted the pill with its front foot. Even though its body was smaller than the pill, the insect wanted to tell everyone that even though its body was small, it contained a power that none of them dared to imagine. The insect carried the pills and slowly crawled along the edge. A very faint sound could be heard. The white specter heard the voice and turned around. But very quickly, it became very confused. There was no human, and the medicinal pill seemed to be nothing in its eyes. Lin Fan witnessed the entire situation. He wanted to know what was going on with the white specter, but he didn't expect its hearing to be so sensitive. The sound of the insect's front feet could even attract its attention. That was just too terrifying. But the white specter didn't care about the pill at all. He thought about it and understood. So, the white specter was there to prevent people from stealing the treasures. Hee. When the Tao grew, the demon grew. Pooey. How could the sect leader be a demon? That was a total mess. Let's start again. He quickened his footsteps. He didn't dare to release the insect army, as there were experts guarding outside. The sound that the insects made might not attract attention, but if there were too many of them and the sound got louder, then it would be hard to say. That night, Lin Fan didn't rest. Like the insects, he worked hard and forgot about everything else. He just wanted to empty Guasian Island. But he overestimated himself and underestimated the foundations of top sect. To use these insects to empty a sect, did he really think that a top sect that had developed for hundreds of years was useless? The sky was bright. Lin Fan had stopped long ago. He tried his best and couldn't move everything. If he could, he really wanted to personally wave his sleeves and move everything away. Dong dong. Someone knocked on the door. Senior brother Lin, the competition has begun. Head to the square to gather. Zhou Ruo's voice spread in from outside. She fell in love with him at first sight, but he could only tell her not to think so much. Even if there was a layer of veil between girls chasing guys, this veil was something that she would never be able to pierce. Just forget about it. But forget it. Being too direct was a little hurtful. Perhaps in a while, she would understand just how big the gap between them was. This gap was not something that could be crossed easily. I am coming, Lin Fan replied. He acted like he had just woken up. Actually, he was just placing things properly. In the past, he felt that it was safe to store things in the dimension. But after the Alliance's star-level energy, he realized that it wasn't safe at all. With 1 star-level energy, the dimension collapsed, and turned into nothing. He pushed the door open. Su Jing and the others were already waiting outside. Excitement appeared on everyone's faces. They all wanted to get a good ranking in the competition, but there were just too many geniuses from the Celestial Alliance sections. It was tough to stand out. Without absolute strength, it was just a joke. I hope that all of you will win today. Lin Fan smiled. Brother Lin is too polite. Everyone will win. Su Jing smiled. He was confident in himself. Although he might not be able to enter top 10, to be able to spar with people of the same generation was his dream. He wanted to know the gap between them and himself. Let's go and find a good spot. The bunch of them walked into the distance. Along the way, he heard the voices around him. They weren't talking about anything huge, but they were gossiping about one another. For example, who was the top of the younger generation and who was strong and had limitless futures. When Lin Fan heard this gossip, his expression changed. As expected, when one wasn't on the same level, one wouldn't be able to understand what they were talking about. What was so amazing about that? They arrived. The ocean of people was really shocking. Celestial Alliance's competition attracted everyone's attention. Those who had high cultivation and were confident in their cultivation weren't willing to give up such a good chance. When will all of you go up? Lin Fan asked. He had to give them a chance to perform. Originally, he wanted to wait for everyone to arrive before suppressing them and attracting a wave of hatred. However, Su Jing and the others had a good relationship with him. He was prepared to give them a chance to perform. Once they finished, he would suppress them. Su Jing said, I am in the 27th match. Zhou Ruo said nervously, I am in the 48th match. Their matches weren't too far behind, and it was obvious that they wouldn't need much time. Very quickly, the area was silent. The higher-ups of the Celestial Alliance top sects appeared. Celestial Alliance had 10 top sections, but Xinyang sect leader Xian Mu was killed by him. 100 Dao sect was destroyed, and they suffered heavy losses. Sect leader Qin Tung hated him to the bone. Supreme Saint sect was humiliated by him, and DZ was beaten up, so he hated him a lot. Golden Spirit Valley was in charge of a city of disciples, and he was suppressing them. Moreover, he seemed to have offended too many people and was embarrassed to face them. If they saw him, they might not be able to suppress the rage in their hearts and fight him to the death. At that moment, Su Yuanming appeared, and the moment he appeared, everyone cheered. To some disciples, Su Yuanming was their idol. Then, other sect leaders appeared. Even a Celestial Alliance and Evil Alliance didn't deal with each other and even had conflict with the Alliance. This gathering was really important. It was also a time for the various sects to display their disciple strength. If the disciples were strong, then the sect was strong. There was no need for Dao realm experts to fight. The battles between disciples were the time to truly experience the strength of the sect. Su Yuanming stood there and spoke a bunch of nonsense. He was talking about unimportant things. The reward for the competition this time were really huge. As long as one entered the top 10, the worst reward would be a weapon made from heaven crystal stone. This was something that any disciple would want. First was actually rewarded with a Dao artifact. When this reward was announced, it caused an uproar. What was a Dao artifact? Maybe everyone had heard of it, but to these disciples, they had never seen it before. Even the most ordinary Dao artifact was a rare treasure to them. No matter what, no one would trade it for it. Thus, Dao artifacts were formed by Dao realm experts using Dao patterns. Not only did they have magical abilities, but they could also comprehend the Dao patterns of experts. It was really beneficial to one's cultivation. Lin Fan curled his lips. What the hell was with the rewards? There was no substance at all. To Lin Fan, Dao artifacts were just scrap metal. They were useless, and even if they were given to him, he would find them annoying. Martial Path Mountain had one, and it was taken from a sect. After studying it for a period of time, he felt that it wasn't of much use, so he just left it there. Whoever wanted it could take it. It was a problem to leave it there. Lin Fan was annoyed. Why wasn't it starting? He told Su Jing and the others to start the competition. Once it ended, it would be time for him to shine. Just thinking about it made him excited. Okay, the top disciple competition that happens once every 3 years shall begin. Su Yuanming hollered. He then sat there and started to talk to the other sect leaders. They paid a lot of attention to the top disciples. That was because they represented the future. P.S. Today, I saw the top searches on Weibo. I was furious. If it wasn't for the ban, no matter whether or not it was a fantasy, I would have written about it. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.